And we're live. Okay. Welcome to another Green Grapist podcast, ad hoc piece of shit thing. I'm joined.
I'm happy about it.
Joined.
Oh, get happy.
Joined by the betters from Blue Chat, Beach and Grey Knight, 7777.
Only Beach is a veteran. I never served.
What? Where did that come from?
The tenured host of Blue Chat, Grey Knight.
Oh,
Yeah.
You mean veterans of, like, hangouts. Oh.
Yeah,
Okay.
the commanders. That's us. Masters and commanders of Blue Chat.
Is that how that works? Because I heard on somebody else's hangout, Blue Chat was described, I think it was sketchy. It was like, first of all, I was amazed that he had ever watched an episode. Second of all, I was amazed that he said there aren't many, there's like 2 regulars, and I was just like, who's the other regular? I don't even know. I was so excited that like there was another regular, at least in people's minds besides me, because that would be awesome.
Yeah, I'm like your Ed McMahon to your Johnny Carson. Come on.
Dude, you could be, you might be, but that's a recent thing, honestly, because like in the beginning you used to like nap through the show. And you'd just be like, oh fuck, you had a hangout last night? I'm sorry, dude. And I'd be like, yeah.
Well, you keep doing that, like, let's do it live shit. So
Absolutely.
Yeah.
That's the whole point.
You gotta give Grandpa a heads up.
I pride myself on how little preparation we put into that show.
All right. So the topic today is going to be, for the most part, just weaponized words on the internet, aka how to piss off anyone with too much of a fragile feeling set.
Otherwise known as barrel fishing.
Yeah, for the most part. We brought a shotgun along and a little bit of dynamite.
Yeah.
Which is why we're starting off with the topical event of the day, happenings for free speech and so on. You gotta get that?
Oh, is that coming through? Sorry. Shit. I get really pissy when other people do it. That's all
exactly.
I got.
Okay, so we're gonna start off. We're gonna build up a little bit of background here before we get to the main event, involving a certain trial in Toronto, if memory serves. So this is from Spiked Online, an article, actually it's an old one, called "The Internet Must Never Be a Safe Space," regarding the, so I'm getting in a bit of an echo from, I think it's from the page.
I got my head. Yeah, okay, hang on.
Huh.
Still getting it?
Testing. Yeah, I can still hear it, but I don't know what it is.
Should I log out and log back in, or?
Does your headset have a mic attached to it?
Yes.
It's probably me. Fuck it.
No, does your computer have a mic in it pre-built or something? Like.
No. There's the webcam, but it's shut off.
Oh, okay.
Those are the only 2 sources I have.
I'm pretty sure it's the mic in the headset.
God, that's weird.
No, I found this out with the piece of shit headset I have.
So this is a nice headset, actually. It's like $150 headset, so it's never done that. All right, I turned off my fan. Is that doing it? You still getting it?
I can't hear you giving an echo, so we're good.
It might not have even been him. I had like an open mic and
yeah,
like,
it's
my
great.
speakers blasting.
Oh, okay.
Great.
Well, this ain't my show. I don't give a fuck. I'm not even wearing pants, man. Get real.
Wait a minute. I actually put on pants and I didn't have to. That's fucked up.
Careful, you harass someone on the internet.
Well, it just reflects your professionalism.
Yes.
Oh, we're all professionals here.
Yes.
No.
This is high speed. This is high speed, man. High speed, high tech. Okay, okay.
So we'll just get started with this article.
Gregory Allen Elliott trial. Yeah.
So when Toronto artist Gregory Allen Elliott entered a heated argument with idiots back in 2012, people got angry. So let's see. More sensible people would have expected the case to be thrown out, but it wasn't. Instead, he's been subjected to a 3-year investigation. Now, keep in mind, this is as of a while ago, 26th of November. So this isn't even like incurring whatever he's had to through the winter, through the end of the winter. So he's been subjected to a 3-year investigation and trial, legal fees in excess of $100,000. He was also banned from the internet for 2 years. His artwork has been defaced by groups around Toronto, feminist groups around Toronto, and basically his name's been dragged through the shitter. So he's basically he's in a position where he's not able to make an income.
What is meant by banned from the internet for 2 years?
Like literally banned from the internet.
What is that? How you get banned from the internet for 2 years?
I mean, we can talk to Kevin Mitnick about this too, but I'm sure he has a different story.
Yeah, basically he's not allowed to log onto the internet, or is he? Or even
well, he's allowed on now. He's finally he's out of the back. The reason why Kevin Mitnick wasn't ever on Twitter even until as of a year and a half ago was because of a ruling back when he was convicted for certain nefarious, funny activities.
Yeah, that was for hacking though. This is
this is just for talking on the internet.
This is just for posting tweets, which is
this is for disagreeing with someone via Twitter.
Yeah, pre-trial punishment.
So of course it says this case is extreme, far from unexpected. Well, yeah, I give people the ability to sue anyone and they will. Blah blah. United Nations bizarre report. Yeah, this cyber violence against women and girls was a really funny document to go through. If you hadn't looked at, I'm hoping they have a second draft up because I know they took it down eventually. Where they had like redundant references that just flat out didn't exist, things that weren't cited, or things that were cited with the wrong citation.
The link to someone's hard drive was the best.
That was the best one, yeah. Yeah, if you're ever wondering why everyone had a C drive in their name for a while, that was the reason.
Yep.
So skipping stuff about that report and so on. Let's see.
All I gotta say is the United what?
Yeah.
Oh, where's your army? Oh, you don't have one.
United
That's
funding.
Adorable.
It's the United extra expenditure on the budget. So I think this part was the best part of the article here, which is the internet must never be a safe space for anyone. The internet is, at its best, an intellectual space designed for sharing information and ideas. Gee, like at its fucking inception, it was designed for that. That was the whole reason for it, was to be able to share information rapidly in a decentralized manner.
But that's
not your home.
Yeah.
It's a public platform.
Right.
True. Words do not wound unless you have weak constitution. I'm going to add that one in there. See, when we allow self-professed victims the power to decide what is considered safe and unsafe, we abandon free speech entirely. So that, I think, was the important part of this article, aside from just saying, hey, this ridiculous stuff was happening and here's what it's cost him so far. A little more on this. It says the judge is set to rule on Elliott's case in January 2016, which I believe was done today. We'll get to that in a minute. The outcome sets a precedent. So speaking of precedents, we'll get to that in a minute. But first, we want to look at, say, the main person who is behind the suit. So Stephanie Guthrie.
I'm still fascinated by the idea that he's banned from using the internet and what exactly
he's banned from even owning. For clarification, I think I remember he was banned from even owning any devices capable of going on the internet. Correct?
Hold on a second. Let me.
So he couldn't have basically any a standard cell phone, tablet.
So if he wanted to use Skype, or if he had a voice over IP telephone provider, that would all be illegal. And there's a judge on this planet that upheld that. That's not China
and
North Korea or something.
And without finding any culpability.
This has been looked at several times, and so I'm a regular reader. I used to be a regular commenter on TechDirt, and so they have some things to say about this too. So they're usually more or less kind of on the ball on these kind of things. So Canadian court ponders, this is from the 16th, Canadian court ponders if a disagreement on Twitter constitutes criminal harassment. So 3 main players, Greg Elliott, Stephanie Guthrie, and Heather Riley. They both brought the charges. Third woman is no longer involved.
I don't know if you mentioned it or like it was during the period where I was zoned out, but like I haven't really been following this trial that closely.
Yeah.
So was this a trial by jury or was this just a judge's?
It's a criminal trial. I have no idea if it was by jury. I don't know those details, but I think
that's a super important detail. Like,
yeah, I don't think it was by jury. I don't think
so either.
I think it was just by court ruling.
And I think that's interesting because I bet he would not have gotten a not guilty if this was by jury.
Well, I think so. I know that they're all Toronto-based.
Especially like hearing what the actual verdict was, because it sounds like really technical. Like that's because this burden wasn't met to like this specific standard as defined in the law. Like,
yeah, we'll get to that part.
That's actually not uncommon. I'm not.
Yeah.
I'm not even really that familiar with Canadian jurisprudence.
If you're the defendant, I agree that you have a right to like if you have you should have the option to have either sort of trial. For reasons like this, that like.
Well, he might have accepted. No, he might have accepted, saying, "Yeah, tribunal's fine."
But we'll get to that point in a bit when we get to the verdicts later on. So just a little more background here. So some people did support Guthrie, others did not, and responded angrily. Some threats of bodily harm and other kinds of insanity. So many of the responses to Guthrie were indeed horrifying and disturbing, but that also brings up Greg Elliott. So it says he knew Guthrie a bit, not just online, and he disagreed with Guthrie's apparent plan to shame Spur, so whatever that was at that point. He created what appears to have been something of a counter-campaign to speak against Guthrie's campaign. So a debate on Twitter ensued. And so this is where we can get a quick recap of kind of what's started all of this. So Spur, some person, angry at another person, creates a ridiculous game allowing people to punch out a person. This is incredible. So this might even have been like the Sarkeesian Bruce game or whatever the fuck that was.
And to mention, for historical background, those games have been in existence since
forever.
Early 90s.
At least.
Yeah.
So in general, a game of such a form of speech has been around pretty much since speech, but as far as online, since mid-90s.
It's the electronic equivalent of burning someone in effigy.
I mean, the proto version of that was a GIF where it was done for you.
Or before that, burning someone in effigy.
Yeah.
So
this seems incredibly immature, but is an expression of speech. Guthrie, reasonably upset about the game, convenes people online to speak out against Spur and to try to limit his chances of future employment. In other words, counter-speech. Again, some might argue, as happened in point 3, that deciding to ruin someone's life because they create a stupid, immature game is going a bit far, but this is still speech and counter-speech. True.
It is true.
Elliott challenges the soundness of such a broad attack on Spur, noting that online vigilantism can go too far and could backfire. I mean, I would say would enter into the realm of libel. If that's a thing that actually does matter there. I'm sorry, defamation.
Yeah.
Could be both, whatever. Any event.
And the backfire mentioned.
I'm not entirely...
Streisand effect.
Yeah.
Honestly, at number 2, I'm not entirely sure that, like, I would agree that that's still speech and counter-speech. Like, if you're... that is actually, I think...
On its face.
I think it's also towing the line of, like, slander. Like, depending on what's being said, like trying to limit his chances for future employment because of what? Because he
said words on the internet.
Yeah, because of a game that somebody else made where like you like click something until like a picture changes. Like what? What?
Yeah.
How?
People get offended by pictures. Haven't you seen?
Right. So depending on exactly what you're saying, I think that like whoever is speaking to people to limit his chances for future employment. Like that could actually, I think that could be actionable. Like,
well, if what exactly monetary damages.
What I would ask.
Specifically, if his chances for further employment are limited because we did an internet search. well, we did an internet search on you, and we otherwise would have hired you, but then there's this, and like
so that might be
demonstrate that. In
you know something, employers are looking at that less and less, and just considering it part of the noise. In fact, don't care anymore, or caring less.
Here's the other thing to consider there, though, is that slander and defamation typically rely on you having to prove a lie caused some sort of tangible fiscal.
It denied
otherwise,
you.
some damages.
Yeah,
it has to be due to something
monetary damages.
Yeah,
or
so
the
fiscally
or the ability to engage in future commerce or employment.
But still, the point there remains that it's typically reliant on you confronting some sort of lie that has caused a fiscally realized damage. So,
remember that
not to go IRS lingo on you there, but
yeah,
it has something that is currency related.
Yeah, and you have to prove it too. So
exactly,
you have to prove actual damages.
They can't be just potential.
In the case of future damages, it would be something like you'd have to get like a customer saying, "Yeah, I didn't buy."
So those are more wishy-washy kinds of damages. The key thing there I was mentioning is fiscally.
Remember, these are U.S. standards too.
Right.
Libel and slander is very different in like places like England. It's much
easier.
Clearly,
it's current year up there, so. Yeah. Anyway, so Elliot challenges the soundness of such a broad attack on Spur, noting online vigilantism can go too far and could backfire, giving silly, immature game more attention, so strives in effect. Counterspeech to the counterspeech that isn't defending the stupidity of the original game. They and others begin to debate on Twitter, and that debate gets ugly and ridiculously childish and points.
Shocking.
But at no point resorts to any sort of threats. At this point, all of this seems perfectly reasonable. People are disagreeing online. Today ends in a Y, and speech and counterspeech is happening. There are all sorts of things on the side that people can be concerned about. The idea that to create such a game in the first place, the power of mob justice to overreact, the insults, more insults. But again, this is all just your standard everyday internet argument. And yet, somehow out of all this, Guthrie and others end up charging Elliot with harassment. Then there's Riley. Apparently, in the midst of all this, she got engaged in the debate, which ended up like so many debates on Twitter, where she says to Greg, "Please do me a favor and not reply to my posts. You don't follow me. Were you creeping the Toronto poly tag to find my tweet?" So the big thing that's going to come up in a little bit is that the accusation is that they were being stalked by him, and that's part of what constitutes the harassment charge. But this is their feelings, not reality, which we'll get to in a brief that's over here later on. So this just is more back and forth bullshit. In any event,
actually, could you scroll up a little bit? Sure. I mean, I'm assuming that this particular exchange, a little bit more.
Yeah.
This is between Gregory, Alan Elliott, and Lady Snarks a lot.
I think that's Heather Riley.
Right. So one of the interesting things that I saw that was over actually on the CBC article that we'll probably get to if you scroll down through it. Mm-hmm. There's a portion where it's just like just this kind of live journal. Like sort of, it's like it's not Twitter, but it's basically the same thing. A limited number of characters that you can send almost instantly from anywhere, presumably from a phone. And she's reporting from inside the courtroom, like making comments on what the judge is, just to paraphrase what the judge is discussing at that moment in giving the decision. So one of the things that she notices, the judge's impression of how Twitter works is that if you .@reply someone, you are limiting who that reply is going to, and I think that's interesting because I'm assuming that this is an example of Twitter excerpts that were passed around in between the defense and the prosecution in trying to establish what happened in this case, and so I'm looking at that and I'm thinking like what the judge saw that exchange and probably saw Elliot as trying to limit the people whom he is reaching with his reply to Lady Snarks a lot. But in fact, when you .@reply someone, you are broadening the reach of that particular tweet. Because what happens in the first tweet, like you don't have the .@. So that's only going to be seen by people who subscribe to Elliot and Lady Snarks a lot. So you need to, if a tweet starts with @ then that tweet is going to be limited to the people who are subscribed to both the tweeter and that person in order to see that in their normal feed, unless they go to your page and like go to tweets and replies and that shit. But if you .@reply, you break that, so that will be seen by everybody who subscribes to Elliot. And I'm wondering that, like, you know, did the judge probably understood the legal technicalities of what, you know, burden needed to be met for a criminal harassment case to, you know, to be considered correct. But clearly the judge has no fucking idea how Twitter works. So like, I'm wondering how, like,
that's explained in this brief over here.
Like that now makes me wonder how fair and correct this judment is, because the guy had no fucking idea what's going on.
So I tried and I'm trying not to put the cart ahead of the horse here. I tried to try to find a text of the ruling to see if if there has even been time for one to be made. I'm pretty sure they typed them up prior to handing them down, though. So I was trying to find a text of the ruling and I couldn't find one. But I haven't gone to like the legal repositories or what have you, and I'm definitely not going to pay like 30 cents a page to bother with that shit. At least that's with the American system. I'm guessing it's probably about the same up there. So, in any event, it appears most of Elliot's tweets are still online. Guthrie's and Riley's are now private. This is as of the 16th still. You can see at the start here. We'll not go through that, but there are also many examples of friendly tweets between Elliot and Guthrie prior to that. So, amazingly, with a little searching online, it is possible to find a spreadsheet cataloging all the tweets between the two of them. And again, at times, the insults start flying, but at no time does it appear to be threatening. Hell, it's hard to see how it's harassing. It's people expressing opinions, often angrily. Okay, so we're going to go ahead and skip the rest of this. So Stephanie Guthrie, this is her website. So she calls herself a gender justice consultant. I did not know that was a job title, but apparently it is. So we'll just give like the first paragraph here, and I think we can probably skip the rest of this. But it's not hard to find her website, stephguthrie.com. So Steph Guthrie is a feminist advocate, organizer, and analyst.
Does it say what she is a gender justice consultant for, or where?
Yeah.
Oh, that's the second paragraph, I think. So, okay. An analyst focusing on intersections of gender, culture, and technology. People need to start putting in the Oxford comma. It's triggering. As a founder, or the founder, pick one. As founder of Women in Toronto Politics, or never mind, don't need it. She produces events and online resources to promote a more gender-inclusive civic discourse. By suing people.
You might want to bump up the font too.
Thank you.
There you go.
All right. So, as a consultant, Steph helps groups in the public and nonprofit sectors expand their reach and deepen their impact. Depends their impact, and helps businesses ensure their products, services, and customer engagement are gender equitable. At least she's consistent. I've seen articles recently where they skip back and forth between using the comma there or not. Sorry, I'm not usually a grammar Nazi on this shit, but
I've seen some awful writing. I have to bite my tongue so often, but
yeah, I'll shut up on that for the rest of this. Sorry.
In other words, she's a gender pimp.
So her favorite type of consulting work is creating educational resources, which she has done for organizations including Mozilla, the National Film Board, and the White Ribbon Campaign. If you don't know what the White Ribbon Campaign originally was, you should probably go look that up, because it was fucking horrifying. Oh, no, I'm sorry, that was the White Feather Campaign. I'm thinking.
You're talking about the White Feather Campaign.
Yeah, it's the same shit that I'm thinking of there. So that very well may be something that's much better. In any event, so also
wait a minute, isn't in Canadian activism politics, isn't that Indigenous people stuff?
That might be.
I don't remember. Yeah.
Let's see, what was it? There's directors. I can't remember the name of it. There's an industry organization that, if she wanted to help with, it would be the appropriate. Well, not to be a piss man on this, but the appropriate venue. I can't remember the name of it. It's like WDA or something. The only reason I know about it is they were trying to shut down their article on Wikipedia, and it's like, well, what other industry associations would you try to get rid of for relevance if you aren't deeply embedded in the sphere of it? I don't expect everyone to know about engineering associations that I'm part of. So anyway, as a public speaker and facilitator, Steph creates comfortable spaces, safe spaces, to discuss uncomfortable things. Oh, never mind, very unsafe spaces. Her passionate and accessible keynotes, panels, and workshops challenge long-held ideas and our collective consciousness about topics like rape culture, the internet, and inequality.
Went buzzword alert.
She illuminates constructive and compelling alternatives to the status quo that help audience members envision their roles in cultural change and galvanize them into action. Someone found a thesaurus. Steph's work has been profiled by outlets including the Toronto Star, CP24, the Globe and Mail, and City News, and her comments on politics, feminism, technology, and pop culture have been featured on CBC's The Current and the National, Entertainment Canada, Global News, and Flair magazine. Probably in Fire magazine now, too. Steph holds a Master of Arts in Communication and Culture from York and Ryerson University.
Oh, there's a red flag.
Right, so she's not actually employed by anyone. She's just a consultant.
Well, hold on a second.
She's worked on a number of brochures and perhaps even
wait
red
now.
words. And
Basically, she's a freelance public scold.
It might be that she's actually has a consulting company or something. We'll check that out in a second. See, you can see her online resume if you like, and follow her on Twitter at Am I Right, Folks?
Pass.
Resume. Feminist advocate and community organizer. So basically, you're 100% right.
Yeah, I mean, she'd have said I've worked in human resources for such and such a firm.
Well, here
this company or this organization.
Oh, hold on now. Now look at this.
Let me boil it down for you.
timeline.
She's a freelance public scold that puts the squeeze on public and private organizations for.
Well, hold on. She
for
has
SJW Dane Geld.
She has a timeline here. She was a lead writer for a Surcorp group. That's a job. Network community developer. It's a job title. Manager of community outreach. That is a job. And let's see, featured speaker at a TEDx. If you didn't realize, TEDx Toronto of all places too, which means it's doubly
good.
Terrible for the name TED. Let's see here. Also, founder and executive director for Women in Toronto Politics. That's a job. Consultant, speaker. See, self-employed. Good for her.
So she's also on the rubber. So she's also on the rubber chicken circuit and manages to get paid for a ridiculous amount of money for speaking at it for an hour at corporate retreats and shit like that. I know, yeah, I get it.
So basically, it's that title on the title here, gender justice consultant. Just.
I wish August was here because he knows about how the speaker circuit works and what a bunch of
I'm just thinking
bullshit
he could
it
have
is.
gone with any of these titles here, or just whatever. Anyway, now I'm picking nits. We don't need to do that.
Yeah.
So we're done with this page. Don't need to care about that anymore. So here, preceding the ruling by a day was another article on the importance, the impact for the future that the ruling has. So it'll set the tone for online interaction, observers. So in Toronto, the outcome of what's believed to be the first criminal harassment case in Canada involving Twitter, all of which should tell you that this is a non-issue, as it should be, will help set the tone for how the courts and society now courts, I think in particular, society, whatever, navigate the nuances of online interaction, observers said Thursday. Verdict is expected Friday, today, in the trial of Gregory Allen Elliott, Toronto man facing 2 charges of criminal harassment over his dealings with 2 local women's rights activists on Twitter. feminists is what they are. Women's rights activists would be someone more like Elliot Hersey. So Stephanie Guthrie and Heather Riley have said they feared for their safety, testifying at trial they believe Elliot keeps tabs on them and their whereabouts through social media even after they block his account. This is what I meant about their case effectively hinging on their feelings about what he does. So Elliot's lawyer, Chris Murphy, instead characterized the Twitter interactions, which escalated over months in 2012 and saw both sides trade barbs, as ugly political debate. I'll move this guy up here. So criminal code prohibits.
Majesty of the Queen is not amused.
Oh yeah,
I just saw that. I was like, what?
Yeah. So the reason I was confused as to what court it's in is that this says Ontario Court of Justice, but whatever.
Well, hold on a second. What you just said about like this hinges so much on their feelings about it. Like I was reading again, like I think it might be from the same CBC article I was mentioning before, but not the live feedback from the courtroom, but you know
right.
Just the background of it. Like there had been like a situation where like I guess they were out for like at a club or like restaurant or something. It's just they were out at a place, and like the guy was just obviously had some means of getting past the block, or like other people were tweeting about them, and he was like making comment about how where they were at that
right.
point. So like it's not just that they're feeling that, it's like he's literally talking about where they are. So he's clearly aware of it. Like there's evidence that he is aware of this. What the defense's case was that the tweets could have been altered after at any point by anybody gaining access to his account at any time, which again goes to the judge's lack of experience in Twitter. Because I mean, I'm not.
The brief is right here. We'll get to that in a second.
Yeah, I'm not a Twitter guru, but like if someone can tell me how they can like edit a tweet after it came out, like I'd love to hear that.
Oh, hold on a second. Let's see. Damn it. I don't have any tweets I can put up there without screwing up the progression I'm trying to do.
Yeah, carry on. We'll get back to it. Just go.
I was going to say, actually, here we go. There. Watch this.
Aha.
Inspect. Simple as that. Very easy stuff to do. Anybody can do it.
I was hoping you'd like put up.
But did that actually change it on their server?
No.
Right.
I was just saying, like you're asking how.
But then you screen cap that
and then share it.
Right. That's kind of like how our little buddy used to do it, or still does it, right? So.
Yeah, I don't know if like that if they're relying on that way of documenting this documentation.
I think you're right.
That's true.
I think you're probably right on this. I'm just saying, like this, in principle, on the client side end of things.
Yeah, I mean, if you talk about a screenshot, sure, like anybody can image it, can edit a photo. Like that's the point of photo editing software. That's effectively what you're doing. If you take a photo of it, that's not evidence. I wouldn't consider that to be even admissible in a court.
Right. So
I'm assuming that they have some sort of logs and like some sort of or archive or like extant tweets that they're still up.
I think besides the technical issues aside, I think what I want to know more about is what is this level of reasonably being fearful of your safety? What's the bar on that?
Yeah. Now I can answer to the thing Gray was talking about there first. So on Twitter's end, their server side end of things, they store every tweet you ever post. Period. You can go to your profile and you can download the entire record of your Twitter history, which everything you've ever tweeted. And it will have deleted. And this last I checked, which is a couple of years ago, so, maybe they changed it, but I feel not, especially for legal issues that might come out of it, subpoenas and so on. They store everything. Like you would get your whole history of off of Twitter, including everything you've ever deleted.
Right. Yeah.
Right.
I figured that it was something that was like that. So
Yeah, because nothing's ever truly deleted.
And part of it is to cover their ass. Now you cannot a priori extinguishing of evidence be convicted for having interfered tortuously with a trial. So it's not like they're going to be sued for that in a criminal sense. Sorry, not going to get a criminal charge on that, but certainly someone could, for whatever reason, they can sue for anything, but they could sue and maybe win in a court for not having the ability to bring up, say, harassing tweets.
Right.
That again, with the current regime of leadership in their complaints department, I think they might be leaning more towards that side of things, considering that harassing content on YouTube as of recent is getting deleted without any kind of waiting period or recovery capacity, as Blue Chat has found out, unfortunately, so recently.
Right.
So, just to get to the point where this is actually talking about the implications of the lawsuit. So the criminal code prohibits anyone from knowingly or recklessly harassing. So the charge has been taken, by the way. It started off as knowingly, but that was a fuck-up, and became recklessly harassing another person through conduct that caused them to be too reasonably fear for their safety. So going back to the reasonable thing. However, these lines have yet to be clearly defined because that's up to the court. That's jurisprudence.
Okay. Just
when it comes to online discourse.
Yeah, I'm doing the brick house attorney thing here,
right.
But excuse me, but okay, basically he tweeted out where they were hanging out, correct?
Sure.
Okay, just in general.
Well, how
is that reckless? See, reckless to me would be like tweeting out something.
Well, it's like speeding and knowing speeding. So the idea is it's kind of like saying that someone's recklessly speeding. It's when they go over a certain point where it's like, fucking duh, I'm speeding.
Yeah, recklessness
Same idea here.
Yeah, okay, I get the analogy, or the comparison, but
in this case, it's kind of like manslaughter versus murder. It's a shitty distinction.
Okay, are these two? I mean, are they like in the witness protection program or something? And you're tweeting
they're public people.
So.
I'm sorry. If Stephanie Guthrie is an outreach person, then she's a public person.
Right.
It doesn't have to be your name on whatever it is you're publishing out there, but when you're the founder of a group and its PR person, you're kind of intricately woven into the product you're selling to the public.
Okay, I understand that, but I'm kind of focusing on where's the recklessness?
So reckless being basically it's less than knowingly.
In other words,
I don't know what it is.
Okay, but reckless to me means that you're creating a situation of imminent danger, like dangling a baby over a balcony.
I think in this case, I think in the legal sense here, it's kind of like the difference between like manslaughter and first degree murder. Like knowingly is premeditated, recklessly would be involuntary.
Okay, my point is where's the creation of the situation or agitating a situation where it's recklessness?
I think if someone doesn't get that they're harassing you and you've taken all measures and they keep coming after you,
yeah,
I think it's between that versus you saying, look, this is definitely harassment. They say, I know I'm harassing you, and then continuing to do it.
Well, I mean, okay, kind of recklessness is because if somebody's in a situation like they're on ISIS's hit list or something, and you say, oh, look, they're over here. So are they in that kind of situation where it's causing, you're connecting two things to create a fire, basically?
I think this is the part where it comes into case law. So, so this being a first on Twitter interaction, this is part of the precedent that this is setting. So this is really the initiation of case law when it comes to social media, specifically Twitter, and interactions thereon. So that's where I say these lines have yet to be clearly defined because it takes a bit of jurisprudence and case law build-up.
I'll let it go, but my point is, what's the point of imminent danger where your recklessness is going to cause harm?
I don't know. See, that's I think an interpretation of the court to hold up. I think knowingly is easier to prove than recklessly.
Okay.
Just in general. It seems on its face it seems obvious, but it might not be obvious where someone says, "I know I'm harassing you." I think you might have to prove some nuance there, but just the clear-cut, easy black and white case, I think, would be like that.
Yeah. It just seems rather vague to me in what I understand is reckless behavior in other matters. But yeah, okay.
I don't think you're alone in being kind of out of the loop on where those lines are drawn. I think it's something that's still being figured out.
Right.
So let's see. Well, Friday's verdict won't determine for all of our future how people interact with social media, like say the fucking headline says. It will mark a first step in clarifying what's deemed acceptable online behavior. So when you're talking about the law and a lawyer says clarifying something, they usually mean building up case law, just in general. So this is one of those cases that's out there that cumulatively is going to help decide how our society deals with issues like this. It means legally. So another issue that comes up often with these kinds of situations is the distinction between the common nomenclature for such activities and the legal sense of the word.
Mm-hmm.
So harassment in the legal sense is better defined.
That's why I'm asking, because I know the difference between the pedestrian definition and
it's not just
usually miles apart. Yeah, they're usually miles apart. So
yeah, the legalese here is actually the legalese on this one is conveniently less insane than it sounds.
Yeah.
It might be, but it is still more restrictive in how it's applied. Okay. So let's see. Kara's libel of the Canadian Civil Liberties Association said that regardless of the outcome, the case has already raised concerns about freedom of speech. Very true. So let's see. There's nothing wrong with people getting a message that they should think about what they're saying online before they do it. Sure. That they need to exercise discretion and be responsible at what they say. Also, not a bad idea. Think about what you say before you say it, then you won't look like a moron. But there is a concern that when people are engaged in debates and discussions on sometimes highly contentious and controversial issues, they have to be concerned about a criminal charge. You see, that should not necessarily be the case unless you're like calling out fire in a movie theater after someone pissed you off by talking. Something like that. And
or putting someone in imminent danger.
So let's see. And that is an imminent physical risk when you're in you're in present danger risk.
Right.
Where you're
that's what I was getting at with. Yeah, that's what I was getting at. Yeah, it's bullshit. There's no.
So when the courts are looking at where you draw the line, I think we always need to be balancing the concern for freedom of expression in a pretty substantial and significant way. That is, just fantastic that they're going to go ahead and start off with that, because that's one of the key concerns that's been endemic to this case is where they're going to draw the line, because then you have to start moving the line. It's much easier to ratchet that further up than it is to lower it back down again. Once you get the foot in the door, the door is open. As far as being able to just censor people left and right for your feelings. So, and I keep characterizing it as such, but I'll look into the brief here next to actually see what was said. And it's a long-ass brief, so we're not going through all of it. Similar to the way we've been kind of shortening up these articles here. Let's see, so the court heard communication between Elliott and two women soured after he criticized Guthrie for publicly calling out some guy, and Marie Mann was a video destructive players. Okay, so this was the one where it was beat up Anita Sarkeesian. That's what I thought it was.
Yeah, no, that I remembered. I saw her.
Yeah. The guy was an ass for making it, but at the same time,
So what? Yeah.
Okay.
But did you see her video? At
yeah,
TED Talks?
TEDx. Yeah, I saw it.
Yeah, that was disgusting. That was.
Well, it was.
But we can get back to that later.
Yeah, well.
Get through this.
Maybe some other day we can go through that one again, because that was its own treat, and it's not current year, damn it. It needs to be current. It needs to be current year.
Damn me.
Speaking of current year, we need to get to current day, because current day and current hour. So this is a brief from definitely not current year.
Well, when this case was going down, like this was all these incidents are from 2012. Like at that point,
it's old.
That was current year for that TEDx talk, for presumably the game that was a fairly recent development. We are living in the future.
My God, this is crazy.
Yep.
All right, so first off, can you read this in the same voice?
I still have to. Her Majesty the Queen is most not amused.
Yes, the crown must be spoken to, petitioned, if you will, for the justice of this poor man.
I don't know. It's adorable. Sorry, I just see that. I'm like...
Yeah. So part 1, statement of the case. And like I said, this is a long-ass brief. So we're not going to go through the vast majority of it. So the nature of Twitter. I think we can go ahead and summarize this stuff as follows, because this would be good to just give people a pretty clear idea of where their argumentation is based in. Twitter can be a tightly controlled medium of communication. If Twitter users choose to operate a closed Twitter account, the users can determine precisely who is able to see their tweets. In addition to closed accounts, however, Twitter offers its users the option to have their accounts open. The effect of having an open account is that nothing a user tweets, except for direct messages, is private. To the contrary, Twitter users who choose to keep their accounts open allow anyone in the world who has an internet connection to view literally all of the Twitter users' tweets. The players in the R v. Gregory Allen Elliott matter utilized open Twitter accounts during the relevant time period and apparently used their open accounts to disseminate their messages to as many people as possible. So, again, this is what comes with activism. So this is, I think, the point I'm making as part of reading this grade, just aside a convenience of this, is that the judge was informed of the nature of Twitter in such a way that they could corroborate this by inspection. So the rules of Twitter. Twitter rules provided, inter alia, as follows.
Among other things, as follows.
Our goal is to provide a service that allows you to discover and receive content from sources that interest you, as well as to share your content with others. We respect the ownership of the content users. Share, and each user is responsible for the content he or she provides. Because of these principles, we do not actively monitor and we will not censor user content, except in limited circumstances described below. In other words, except where convenient. According to the Twitter rules, some of the factors that Twitter takes into account when determining whether a user's conduct constitutes harassment are: A, if a user is sending messages to a user from multiple accounts; B, if the sole purpose of the user's account is to send abusive messages to others; or C, if the reported behavior is one-sided or includes threats. These rules have since been updated. You can see on the website. But
that was another thing that I wanted to mention, that not very long ago Twitter updated some of its, if not all of its rules.
It is literally except where it inconveniences the wrong person, where you can now be censored. So you're free to speak whatever you want as long as you don't piss off whoever it is who's reviewing the submissions for your tweets to be taken down. Welcome to Twitter. So, number 6 here. It is submitted that there is no evidence before the court that Mr. Elliott violated any of the rules of Twitter between August 1, 2012 and November 20 of 2012, so the time period where this shit was happening. Mr. Elliott did not send tweets from multiple accounts. The sole purpose of his account was clearly not to send abusive messages to others, as they proved later on in the document, boringly. So, and it will, as will be discussed in detail below, the contact between Mr. Elliott and the complainants was anything but one-sided. Further, all parties agree that none of Mr. Elliott's tweets included any threats. This is important. All parties agree, meaning that the prosecution has stated there are no threats in any of the tweets. Indeed, a complaint filed by Heather Riley, and this is what I mentioned earlier, on September 11, 2012, alleging Mr. Elliott had violated the Twitter rules, was summarily dismissed by the company. In dismissing Ms. Riley's complaint, one of the reasons provided by Twitter was, in fact, that Ms. Riley appeared to be engaged in an active conversation with Mr. Elliott. I'm sorry, this wasn't what I mentioned earlier. We'll get to that a little bit further below. Twitter only takes actions on accounts that violate Twitter rules. I understand that it can be frustrating to be a recipient of this kind of attention, but our role is that of a communications platform, less and less nowadays, and we do not mediate or remove speech that does not violate our rules, except when we do. We have generally found that responding to users who are intentionally attempting to aggravate you encourages that user to continue their behavior. Hello, feeding the trolls. Furthermore, this interaction generally indicates that there is an active conversation as opposed to violating behavior. So basically, she was having a discussion, got butthurt, and decided she wanted out of it. It is submitted that Mr. Elliott, Stephanie Guthrie, and Miss Riley all entered into agreements to be bound by the Twitter rules once they register their Twitter accounts. As with any EULA, make sure you read them.
That seems to be at least from the other articles that I've also read, like that is a repeating theme throughout, like the judge's commentary, that the fact that she kept on talking to this guy was taken as evidence that, like, she wasn't being harassed.
Well, so yeah, tweeting behind a block is a hallmark of this kind of personality. That's the problem.
Yeah.
And now I think correctly here that the judge recognized that as not being genuine in their accusations. But at the same time, I could see how circumstantially such things might not be as clear-cut as I think this case was. See, it's further submitted that... You want to say something?
Well, I was going to say that, yeah, that's the basic foundation of establishing harassment and having any legal action being taken. You don't communicate with the person.
Yeah, except maybe say, like, stop talking to me.
And you explicitly state, I do not want any further communication with you, the end, and you don't talk to them. Once you talk to them again, you reboot it.
Yeah, in addition, I would say that this case is in part spurred by the accuser's misconception that the conventional definition of a word like harassment extends into the courtroom. I'm sorry, it doesn't. And we'll see with certain people later on that apparently just because someone was found innocent does not mean that they're exculpable of everything that constitutes that.
Yeah, that's why it's called not guilty, not innocent, but we just didn't reach the level of being able to establish your guilt.
Unlike other cases, like say the Duke, the allegations against certain Duke lacrosse players, where they were proven in court to be innocent, a not guilty verdict is otherwise just not guilty. Yeah. So let's see. It's submitted that Miss Riley and Miss Guthrie were aware that.
Well, that's also about
active conversations.
Well, that also is linked to the whole concept of burden of proof.
Right. So Twitter
the
would not
defendant doesn't have to prove that they're innocent. The court has to, or the prosecutor has to prove that they are guilty, that they are culpable. So
that's called the presumption of innocence, which is why I find it hilarious when they say it doesn't mean they're innocent. Doesn't mean they're innocent. Well,
technically it's true. Technically it's true because all it means is that the court failed.
It's an operating assumption.
The prosecutor failed to prove culpability.
But without that operating assumption, I can, in the same fashion, say that they are in fact guilty until they prove themselves otherwise in the court of law.
Right. Well, we're going from public opinion, and it's based on a technicality because it is true. People do get off. People do get off. They committed an act, but it's basically the state didn't prove their case.
So let's continue down this. So nevertheless, Miss Guthrie testified to the following during cross-examination. You knew personally that Gregory Elliott was responding to defend himself, the questioner, and the respondent, which is Miss Guthrie here, he's entitled to defend himself to the world, but not to me. Questioner says, okay. Respondent says he's not entitled to an audience.
Hold on, you scoffed. Like, that's actually correct. Like that's legally, like, you are entitled to defend you can so long as Twitter allows you to get on your soapbox and like talk all fucking day, tweet whatever you want. You can't start tweeting at somebody if they've told you to stop. They block you, they don't talk to you, and they tell you to stop, and you keep going. That's harassment. That's the other thing that came out of this case.
I think that goes beyond here because not to me. Okay.
Right. Well, let's continue down this.
Yeah.
Ray, I have. It's not a rebuttal per se, but let's get to the end of this question and answer.
Yeah.
So this interaction, I think, will make it clear that is not a limiting case for the boundaries of what constitutes harassment on Twitter is not really being approached here in a direct manner. So she says again, he's not entitled to an audience from me, Mr. Murphy. Mr. Murphy says, okay. And that's what it comes down to. would you agree with me that you don't believe that Mr. Elliot is entitled to defend himself to you? She says, to me, yeah, no, I don't believe he is. So he says, right, okay, no matter what you say to or about Mr. Elliot, agreed?
Hey, check out that conflation.
Well, he's searching for the edges of where
this has all been this is all like this is Elliot's attorney that's written all this.
Right.
It's his attorneys. All of this is from like the point of view that he's trying to put forward, the narrative he's constructing. So I think that's interesting. Like if you said something to him, yeah, I think you have a right to respond. Then the judge would probably agree to pay. If you're familiar with the wording of how things were presented in this ruling.
Well,
but if you're just talking about the guy, you still don't have a right to reply. Like they're not.
Well, you have a right to reply.
You have a right to reply. You have a right to reply publicly, but
you don't have a right for them to hear you.
Right.
Yeah.
You have a right to speak at someone. You don't have a right to demand that they process what you tell them.
Yeah.
You don't have a right to a reaction from someone.
Okay, well, this would be like the difference here would be like you have the right to send a letter to the editor and have it printed to address a person who's doing whatever to you, but you do not particularly have a right to send them direct mail or call them on the phone. I think that's the distinction here.
Yes.
Am I right?
Especially if you've been given.
Or am I at least close enough to the target?
Yeah. If you've been told that you should stop. I do not want to hear from you, and you continue.
But you can still.
Then you are towing that line of harassment every time you go past that.
Yeah.
All right.
But you can still. But in public communication or like open letters or whatnot, you can still use their name and say "fuck you" or whatever.
So I think so. I think we should finish this Q&A here. It's a free country.
So if we just wrap up this little section here. I think it's telling that what her response is. I think the conflation there was really. Useful in how it was establishing not just character but context, not circumstance.
Right.
So she says, so no matter what you say to or about Mr. Elliot, agreed. She says, there were a lot of people who backed me up on what I said about him. A lot of people, Mr. Murphy. He says, two of whom are. She said, two of the dozens, yeah. Two of whom are the complainants in this case, right? She says yes. So, yep.
Uh-oh.
So basically, she is right here proudly stating that she incited. Well, not that she incited. That other people chose to comment on in agreement with what she was doing and saying. And the contention here is that it is it's her continuing continuing the conversation in a one-sided fashion so that she can get the last word in, and in doing so, confirming that two of the people complaining of being harassed are indeed continuing the conversation at him.
Right. In other words,
they could be... is the conflation part I have an issue with, because that is not directly necessarily two, but maybe just about.
So I think the point is that there's collusion to continue the conversation with Mr. Elliot through proxy.
Maybe circumstantial collusion. I don't think it's.
Yeah.
I don't think it's.
I'm not shouting conspiracy, but
I don't think there was a premeditated thing. Yeah.
Let's call it.
Yeah, I mean, and if there were people colluding to cause that to happen, then name them in the prosecution, and actually prosecute in that direction. That was something that I wanted to give mention of to the comment from Pauline Triage. They say, I'm not sure about the ins and outs of civil actions of this nature in Canada, but in most states in the U.S., he would definitely be entitled to some damages or at least expenses. First of all, I don't know that that's true.
He can sue for it.
Yeah, he could certainly try to sue for it. I don't know if he would even be entitled to any expenses. I know they call that the American rule, but even in America, that's not the rule. That's just a saying.
You have to apply for that. You have to sue either through litigation.
You have to file for it. You have to and build a case that's necessary. But the other thing is this is not a civil action. This is a criminal case.
Yeah,
so even in a criminal case, you can sue in America, you can sue the state for basically
wrongful prosecution.
Effectively, well, you can sue for damages. Basically, you can sue for expenses rather.
Let me see if I can get
prosecutorial misconduct.
Thank you.
Right,
and
it's almost
rarely
impossible
ever
to
goes
prove,
through.
though.
Yeah, that's very hard. That's
ordinarily rare for that to ever get allowed into the court in the first place. A lot of times that suit is thrown out.
Yeah, none of the higher courts want to have a chilling effect on the lower courts' ability to enforce the law. They give them broad jurisdiction in prosecuting.
This is in part why DAs are such pricks, and now it's to make sure they maintain that 100% conviction.
We're opening up. Yeah, we're opening up another can of worms here, though.
So we can just go ahead and table that for now. So I'm going to bring in Max now because I told him that we were going to get through this bit here before I let him in. He was just asking.
Cool.
I'm going to recharge my coffee now. I will be back.
Okay. So 8 here by tweeting to and about Mr. Elliott. Now, so up here it says to or about. This is the part where I had an issue with conflation of things. It wasn't the same issue that Gray, I think, was intimating. But in this case it says to or about Mr. Elliott, meaning that it could just be her saying, God, what an asshole, and people agreeing, but it also might not be directed specifically at him. But down here it says... In the case of her tweets, it's both to and about Mr. Elliott. So this is the facts of the argument, and this is the belief of the matter. So just the union of these two things here is that she thinks it's perfectly fine to continue tweeting to him from behind a block and having people comment on her tweets about him, and not allow him to reply to those comments.
Yeah, that's not how. Yeah, that's not how it works.
What?
That's specifically what's being said.
Yeah, that completely undermines her.
So
case
that's
she's being.
Her case was blown out of the water the moment she says is that he's entitled to defend himself to the world, but not to me. Like she destroyed herself the moment.
Well, we kind of addressed that. Technically, that is true, and if you don't mind, Craig, if I repeat it,
yes,
Max, it's kind of like to defend himself to the world and not to me. In other words, you can spout your stuff about me and use my name like in an open letter and whatnot, but that doesn't mean you have a right to private communication with me.
Oh yeah, no,
I think that's what that. So there's a difference in that.
Okay, well. I'll agree to the private thing, but if she's going like the distance, like going to the extreme to make sure she continues to talk about him in a public forum.
Well, that's what we're talking about now. Right here.
He has every right.
To
continue to talk about her.
She undermined her case of unwanted communication, i.e., harassment. With that,
I'll finish up this. Just to finish the sentence here. It appears as though Ms. Guthrie had expected that the Twitter rules apply to everyone except her.
Yep.
Which is, it's self-evident to many people involved here. Just to make it more clear-cut, I'll go through the progression one more time. If you don't mind, uninterrupted until I finish it. It'll take a second.
No, go ahead.
Please.
She was engaged in conversation with him. She decided she no longer wanted to be in that conversation and blocked him, which is an appropriate thing to do. She continued to tweet at him and about him, but specifically she tweeted at him. Those tweets at him were commented on by third parties. When those third parties were making those comments, he was included in those tweets, and he would get a notification. In doing so, the conversation was continued as a two-way street when he followed up with the comment on those tweets. So that is the part where she is complaining that he is tweeting from behind a block the wrong direction. Now, this is the part where it's becomes a bit of a black and white issue. Sorry, it goes from black and white issue to gray area.
Yeah, you're presenting. Can you scroll down a little bit? Because I think you're reading on text.
I was stuck on number 8 there. I hadn't gone any further.
Okay.
So I was just repeating that sequence there to make it very clear, like, why specifically her contention that she be allowed to tweet back to him like that is...
Yeah, she completely undermined her claim.
Yes.
By communicating with him, that's it. It's over. You got no case.
He has every right to publicly talk to her. Private, that's a completely different issue.
Well, this is actually.
Well, you also can't tweet behind a block.
But in this case right here, What she's doing is all like, oh, I get to mute your microphone while I yell at you. Because
Well,
she
and
is
bring other people in to
communicating.
yell.
She is communicating to him.
and
Behind a block.
Tweeting after you've blocked someone at them is not against the rules of Twitter. And
Yes.
while I think it's a silly thing to do, I think it's something that shouldn't be against the rules of Twitter. I think it just speaks to your own character.
But
That
going
said,
back,
going back to someone replying.
yeah, but
that's
going
bad.
back to making a claim of criminal harassment, when you file for harassment or even up to the level of a restraining order, if you're still communicating with the person, they're just going to laugh in your face.
Well, they
So
should,
stop
but
it.
I think they're a little bit
honestly,
nicer than that.
that actually brings up a point. Let's say she won the case and she got a restraining order, and she continued to talk to him. She'd actually be liable just for doing that. Like, a restraining order works in a two-way street. Like, you
So
don't
it's hard
talk
to
to
prove.
him. You don't seek to talk to him or seek him out, and he has to obey that he won't talk to you or seek you
So
out.
here's the thought on that, and this is just because I've read court cases on this shit. It's ridiculous. It's hard to prove, but if one were to intentionally attempt to have you either removed from an area or to harass you by invoking the order they pulled against you,
Yep.
they are liable criminally.
Yes, that's what I'm saying.
Yeah.
Like,
Am I the only one who's not surprised at all to find out that Max knows intimately the ins and outs of how restraining orders
Not
work?
shocking in the least.
Nope.
Yeah, just wanted to put that out there, folks.
He's got a lot of experience.
well,
He's an expert.
I'm not an expert, but I do know a good amount about law. At least in Massachusetts, it's probably different state to state, but yes.
So let's we can go ahead and continue here, and we'll stop at this part because we've gotten through the part I really wanted out of this, which was the how Twitter works bit. Now we're entering into the more the circumstantial part of it, which is less interesting than the results of the trial, which we'll get to in the next tab here. So number 9, Miss Guthrie confirmed that as far as she was aware, Mr. Elliott never sent her a tweet that was libelous, threatening, or sexual in nature. So that covers all bases of
Then, my dear, you've barely lived a life.
Number 10, Ms. Guthrie also confirmed that aside from her business dinner on April 18, she never saw him again. So this is before the time period where she claims harassment took place, so he was not physically present.
Yep.
Number 11, Ms. Riley too confirmed that Mr. Elliott never sent her a tweet that was sexual in nature, and she has never seen Mr. Elliott in person until she saw him in court during the trial. So, no physical presence, as in no clear and present danger.
Yep.
Okay, so we've basically gotten through all this shit here. We don't need to go through the long rest of this. It's 72 pages, just showing you by the time it gets to the very ass end of this here.
Oh my god.
Anyway, so now to the kind of the punchline of this farce. Not guilty. Free speech prevails.
Yay.
Yay.
So hashtag freedom of tweets. That was a stream put on by Lauren Southern and Milo Yiannopoulos, which was raising money to help support him defending himself.
Yep.
So now on to like the news story where they continue talking about this. So Gray, unless this was the CBC News article you were talking about earlier, if you don't mind sending me, I guess, a link to it.
I think that might be. The graphic looks familiar.
So I know there was one beforehand where they were talking shit, and there's one afterwards where they try to continue talking shit, but they have to admit he's not guilty. So Gregory Allen Elliott found not guilty in a Twitter harassment case.
The only
sometimes obscene tweets by Toronto man fall short of criminal behavior. Judge rules. Continue. Yes.
The only thing I'm sad about is that this case was convened in Canada. So I mean, I wish this case would happened in America, so it could be looked at as a legitimate precedent in the U.S. that no, you will never win under most circumstances.
Well, I don't think we need precedent. I think there's already precedent.
I think
there is precedent already on
They can pull this shit in a country like Canada. Not to diss on Canada, but their legal system's more pliable to this kind of shenanigans than the American.
For instance, just go to TechDirt, that site I showed you earlier, and search, harassment or whatever, or just Streisand effect in general.
Yeah.
Yeah, no, I know. I think there should be a precedent just so these whiny
Well,
bitches
we have a lot of
don't.
case law that prevents them from having even gotten into court.
Yeah, you can look at case law like with the paparazzi and shit.
Yeah.
Like, we have plenty of case law here that already
Yeah.
would have
Yeah.
exculpated them in this case.
That's why they're not pulling that
It
shit.
would have been thrown out of court before they even got to trial.
Yeah.
This is just
That's
working
true.
its way finally through Canada's courts.
Even the court clerk would go, yeah, get the fuck out of here.
Well, you wish they'd be that succinct about it, but kid gloves and whatnot.
Yeah.
So let's see. Again, he was charged with criminal harassment, so not just fifis, but crime.
Yeah.
Two Toronto Women's Rights Activists. See, they keep saying Toronto Women's Rights Activists. I keep saying they're feminists because I think there is a distinction. Now, there are many feminists who I think are well-intentioned or just do the right thing in general and just have the moniker. I won't begrudge anyone's self-identification. I think that's better than being blindly labeled. But still, I think as a general term, there is distinction between those two. Let's see.
WRAs. God damn.
Like I said, I think Jan Hersey is a great example of a women's rights activist who's not a feminist.
Yep.
I think it's not all rectangles or squares kind of thing. Anyway.
Yeah. No, I get
you. So link here to the trial will help set precedent. Yada yada. Basically, effects we just read back there. So he was accused of harassing these two women. They said they feared for their safety, testifying that they believed Elliot kept tabs on them. There are rumblings in the courtroom that, as he read his decision, supporters for both sides filled the benches, with some even sitting on the floor. So he had an audience, a small one at least.
Yep.
In his tweets,
these kind of trials can be effective.
In his tweets, Elliot was largely explaining himself and furthering his views, however offensive or wrong they may be, the judge said, while recognizing the language could be vulgar and sometimes obscene. The charges were dismissed. Tweets missing. So this article I thought was interesting because it has some information on where things can be found or where not, and why some context may be incomplete as of now. So Guthrie met Elliot, who works as an artist, in 2012 when she considered hiring him to design a poster for an event she was working on. She did not hire him, and later that year they had heated exchanges online on topics including Toronto Mayor Rob Ford and a violent anti-feminist video game. I think the Rob Ford thing was pretty funny. Then again, it's hilarious that taking a drug that sped you up made you do so little. Elliot crossed paths with Riley through Twitter, and this was the beat-up Anita Sarkeesian game, for people who are lacking context on that. Elliot crossed paths with Riley through a Twitter account connected to Guthrie, and they also exchanged heated comments. Elliot made vulgar remarks to Riley, the court heard. Riley testified that by September 2012, she was concerned for her safety, most notably after Elliot made a comment online about a particular bar while she was there with friends. She complained to police. Elliot's lawyer characterized the online interactions as an ugly political debate, said that Elliot never threatened or made sexual comments. So again, this is that distinction between legal and common usage. Upon delivering the verdict, the judge noted the Crown was required to prove Elliot knew he was harassing the women, and that they were reasonably fearful from the harassment.
There's that reasonable line again.
Right.
Yeah.
Exactly.
So and out of that statement, the impression I got was that the stronger case that needed to still be met was that he knew he was harassing the women.
Yeah.
Because again, they just kept on replying to him, and if you
obviously not feeling harassed.
I mean, even just looking at this, not even from a technical sense, or from a technical sense even, but if you're blocked on Twitter and someone keeps responding to you, you have no way of knowing that you're blocked. I wouldn't even consider looking to see if I was blocked if somebody's still actively engaging in a conversation with me.
Right, and so that's the next line here, of course, is that the judge is saying
forget about, I mean, that's what the judge is saying. Forget about knowing whether or not this is harassment. He might not even have known that he was blocked.
Right.
Unless he went to actively check that out.
And even if he knew he was blocked,
I agree with that.
Even if he knew he was blocked, this is why I made sure to be careful about describing the progression of tweets earlier. Even if he knew he was blocked, he was responding to what other people were saying to him or about him when those tweets were responses to Guthrie tweeting to him.
Yeah,
he went out of team.
Yeah, he was indirectly talking on that.
He wasn't violating Twitter's rules by continuing to tweet at a person once they've blocked him. He was responding to other people's criticism, not to her. Just so happened she was tagged in the tweet.
And she was tagged by other people most likely too, because he jumps into the conversation at some point.
Yeah, if there is at least a single tweet of removal between what she's saying and what he's saying in response, even if he was responding directly to her as response to someone else's agreement.
Yep.
But for example, because Guthrie continued to respond to Elliot's tweets, the judge said Elliot didn't know he was harassing her, even though he knew she had blocked his account. So answering that question. And that is the face of someone harassed.
Problem glasses.
The Crown also had to prove Elliot sent the tweets in question. A burden of proof the defense argued had not been met. You could probably argue in kind that there's a good evidence that he was responsible for the majority of them. He said the tweets from his account could have been tampered with or altered. Not server side.
Yeah.
Now, if the evidence was presented client side, yeah, it becomes hearsay. Unless they subpoena Twitter, which a U.S. company would have to capitulate to. So the defense also argued the judge couldn't understand all the circumstances of the case without having all the relevant tweets, which were not collected by the police.
Yep.
Okay, so they also had an incomplete set of evidence. Observers said it is believed to be the first criminal harassment case in Canada involving Twitter, which is probably true. I mean, this is stuff that you can look up.
Yeah, I mean, the defense is going to say that, but I think that's a spurious and ridiculous claim that you need to understand everything that's ever been tweeted to or from this account in order to say anything in a court ruling against this person.
It's an extreme. They're using an extreme to try to make their point.
They say all relevant.
I wonder what the judge's response to that.
Well, it's
their long, the long form version of their ruling, because the judge may very well respond to what was said about that. And I wouldn't be surprised if the judge is like, that's the dumbest shit I've heard all day.
So here's, this is, I would tend to agree there, but I think there's a weasel word here which has to be interpreted at some point. Relevant tweets, and I think if the prosecution isn't going to collect evidence during discovery, they had 3 years of trial, by the way, so the discovery period isn't short on its own. I'm sure there was at least 3 months of that.
Yeah, but no, you're saying all of the relevant tweets, which would mean not only tweets from.
Well, they have to pick out. Yeah.
Well, no, it would be not just all of the relevant tweets would be every tweet from everybody that ever replied to either of those people is what he said.
Yep. Yeah, exactly.
Because you bet your ass after 3 years of discovery, every fucking tweet that's been from either of those accounts is available.
Yep.
My point here was that the relevance issue is something that ought to be interpreted seriously rather than simply thrown out in that respect.
Yeah,
because they have if they have subpoena power, or if they attempted to have it, or if they for whatever reason do have access in that fashion, the point that they're making as a defense is that you're not getting the whole story here, and typically if you say something like that in a court of law, you have to say why. I mean, it's a lot of times you don't have to, but it's better to make your case by saying why.
Right.
I get what
I'm saying is that so long as the judge has access to all of the tweets from Party A about Party B or Party B about Party A, and from those two accounts, those are all of the relevant tweets.
Yes.
Exactly. I don't need to see anything from a third party's account about what they're saying back.
Well, I mean, let's go back to the part
where
it's about
these two people, because let's be real. There's just that's all you need to know in a conversation.
Well, making your argument
this is happening about this is happening between people in a public space, using a newspaper, for example.
Making your argument clearer here, Grey Knight. Going back to what you said earlier, the stronger part of the case that to be proven here. The criminal code prohibits anyone from knowingly or recklessly harassing another person through conduct that causes the person to reasonably fear for their safety. I think that is the strong point of the case. The relevance of the tweets is less relevant to the proving of this test in the court of law. and they have a live tweets thing, and then comments, which of course are moderated, and really don't need to go through a lot of this. And there's another article here which is basically the same thing, but people might recognize this picture a little better. And it didn't really. This article didn't really add a whole lot. This article hadn't really added a whole lot as far as the case is concerned or the outcome.
Are we going to get on to the virtue signaling?
We're almost there.
Okay.
So actually, we're definitely there now. So virtue signaling and so on. And this is just people who are butthurt about the fact that things didn't go their way, and they think, of course, it should have. Like I said, conflating the definitions of common usage and legal sense in the courtroom. So this one I thought definitely needed to not ever be let go, because this was incredibly dumb for someone who is, by the way, a BuzzFeed reporter, which is your first clue that they're a stand-up person.
Mm-hmm.
Of all places to say this. See, as expected, there's plenty of dude bros trying to shut down any woman tweeting about Gregory Allen Elliott. That didn't stop you, did it? Don't let yourself be silenced. Tweet more like this. I'm sure it'll help. See, and if you're not tweeting because one more shitty reply is too much, that's okay too. The internet is real. And I'll leave it at that.
Okay, hold on a second. What's wrong? I see. What is wrong with any of what she just said there?
I think don't let yourself be silenced is an appropriate thing to say. I think it coming from a BuzzFeed reporter, saying that it's there's plenty of people trying to shut down any women tweeting about whatever. I think she's implying that there's people out there who are trying to censor other people tweeting about this simply for their gender.
I don't care what the fuck she works. Like, if that's a fine thought to have.
I think the end of that is perfectly fine. I think it's hilarious.
Maybe dude bros is not.
I think it's hilarious.
It's not an appropriate way to approach that. I think that's probably. I think the word dude bros probably triggered whoever decided to highlight this as a problem or as problematic.
I think this is hilarious coming from a BuzzFeed reporter.
Yeah.
Which is, the culture of which is notorious for its expectation of censorship based on feelings. Which is effectively what she's saying down here, which, is again, it's not a terribly contentious thing to say, but again, it's very funny coming from a BuzzFeed person. So, I mean, this is the attitude that is espoused with the Blockbot. Like the raison d'etre for it is to not be silenced by silencing others. So, and then here's John Bowman, which I think is the better of the two examples here of stupidity. So the oh so salty strategic butt covering begins, which is very topical considering recent videos by prominent video game critics, air quotes. So John Bowman, you know that thing where accusers get tried for perjury when alleged abusers are found not guilty? No, you don't, because that's not a thing.
Unless they committed perjury.
Yeah.
Which has happened.
Not guilty doesn't mean those witnesses were lying. No, it doesn't. But it does mean that they were not correct in their assessments.
Well, that
they can honestly believe what they said, and it still doesn't make them harassed.
Yeah, their testimony was weighed and found wanting. That's what.
They could be perfectly honest about what they did and said, which I think they were.
It just wasn't.
You could tell by her demeanor during cross-examination that Guthrie didn't give a shit. She was sitting there proudly talking about what she did.
Yeah. And thinking that she was correct, and thinking that this guy should go to jail because of it. Because he had the temerity to disagree with her in an unruly manner.
Here comes, the part where he decides to start the social blaming, or the stigmatization of him as a person. His behavior wasn't criminal. Well, that's what the court said. Doesn't mean he is innocent of all wrongdoing. Well, in the court of law, he is by presumption, dumbass. Yeah. That's how the fucking court system works. if he didn't assume either side, guilty or not guilty, then you have kangaroo courts in the same fashion, even if you presume they were guilty, as with the English court.
Well, now here we go. With
not guilty of that charge, not that he's innocent of all wrongdoing. Like that's,
to say that somebody's innocent.
Well, those are two different things, right there.
As I said, it's a presumption, and I know that he's making a different claim there, but I'm still emphasizing the position of the court.
Yeah, being acquitted in a court of law doesn't mean that you're this perfect angel either. But
well, yeah, I don't think anybody's going to argue in favor of fuck's his name, guy in the '90s who had football player who murdered someone, or allegedly, whatever.
Oh, God, no, I can't.
Yeah, and I just did the tip of the tongue thing. Sorry.
Yeah.
I live in Boston. That doesn't narrow it down.
True. Hey, I said '90s. It gave you an era.
Oh, sorry, I missed that.
Yeah.
1990s AD. All right. So my thoughts right now are with women on Twitter who don't have the shields against harassment I have and didn't earn. You know, is it your glasses, or is it the fact, like, are you wearing like a titanium suit that words can't somehow get through? Do you live in a lead bunker? I don't see where. And did someone just, like, as an angel investor, donate this little feelings container to you? Seriously, I don't see where you're going with this, unless, again, you're talking about your feelings and staring. Yeah, O.J. Simpson. Thanks, Shredder.
Even I can't attain that level of moral fagging.
It just...
Impossible. I'd break. That's some rarefied air to make you post something like that.
In any event, yeah, abolish the CBC. So if you didn't catch that part, this guy does reporting for the CBC. So this is someone who is supposed to be reporting for a news agency in what is allegedly an unbiased fashion, at least, you know, with the intention of being as unbiased as possible. You know, op-eds I can easily forgive, even if I find them sometimes hilariously shitty in their grammar or opinions.
Well, I think it's if it's bleeding into his coverage, then you can nail him. But he's on here on that's as himself, right? He's not representing his organization, so
it doesn't look like it. His name is his name, and he's verified by his name.
So he can do all the virtual signaling he wants, but if it starts popping up in his copy, then I'll slam him.
Well, the CBC might have like guidelines that say you cannot be on Twitter and talking about the news. Like, they could very easily tell that to their employees.
Yeah, that's up to
them. It's clear that they don't. That's why he's here. I don't think that that's necessarily wrong.
Yeah.
I don't even think anything he tweeted out was wrong until we got to tweet number 4, and he's just my thoughts go out to the poor women of the world who don't have deflectors as powerful as mine.
Speaking of which, that brings us to this wonderful picture.
I hate this meme. I hate
and
this
the guy
concept of virtue signaling.
Yeah, that's funny.
No, I retweeted this because I find it hilarious, because this is itself a virtue signal.
Yes.
Yeah.
It's a very meta meme.
Only the Sith thinking.
Everybody does it all the time without even noticing. Being polite is virtue signaling. Like,
stop signaling your virtues right now.
You're doing it right now, Gray.
Yeah, well, I suppose.
Virtueception.
You cantankerous polemic.
We're always doing it all the time to each other. Like, there's no point in fighting it. This is what I came to. This is the conclusion I came to a long time ago. You can take it or leave it. Like, I used to just be a dick to people because I thought it was manipulative to not be a dick. Like, this is like, and this is a long time ago. I've gotten over this, but like, you know, that's still why I like, you know, when I'm playing with people, sometimes I like, you know, just fuck with them a little bit, you know, bust their chops. That's kind of a, you know, a sign of admiration or like fondness, I guess. But yeah, I used to think that it was cheating to be polite because that's a kind of virtue signaling. But like, you'll go crazy if you think that way, and you'll more importantly, like, you won't make many friends in life. So don't do that, kids.
No strategic virtue butt covering.
That's I think the more important lesson. Like, none of this strategic
virtue.
Grandiose displays.
Well, so before we get into more
There's
stuff
no
here, which we can all laugh at.
strategy.
Sorry, go ahead.
There is no strategy to life. Ever. No cheat.
You know, you're wrong, but that's okay.
So I figured we can get into we can
Oh,
talk
that was
about
yeah, and the passive aggressive. Nice one, Craig.
we can
Very-
talk. We can talk to you. We can talk about a tweet that you linked in the Skype cabal there, Gray. Before we move on to the more shit here,
Did I? What?
involving a certain.
Oh god, yeah.
Oh
okay.
God, kill it. Kill
So
it.
was it? This wasn't a video that you sent out, was it? I haven't even.
No, this is AOD's video, and
okay,
I've been getting some
I
comments
know that
about
one.
it, and I really need to watch it before I make any comment. I don't know if Jenny may have a point here or not.
Well,
I
so
have to-
she reported the video. So yeah, your Twitter.
Yeah,
though,
I
that's-
downloaded the video just in
Yeah.
case. So,
Um,
but I don't know. I don't know the content of the video. I recommend not
Yeah,
playing
that's
it.
fine.
I'd probably recommend not playing it.
I'm not
at
going to
this
play it.
point.
I'm just going to show that this is so.
Yeah.
Take it as you
Oh,
will.
he
It's
put it
not
on.
bad.
Oh, he put it on Ponage All Stars. That old channel. Really?
Yes, that's where I found it.
Okay.
So
I downloaded it from wherever the link was. So.
I think the video reserved judgment on. I have a feeling that it's probably not the case where that's an issue, especially
Probably
considering
not,
she's,
but yeah.
considering
I don't-
she's publicly posted certain things in the past. That said, reporting you though, what do you have to say about that, Curry Knight? Aside from what you're, which is for what?
She
Yeah, I don't know.
no. She even
Like
reported
she's,
Twitter.
she can try.
Yeah, good
reported-
thing you're
I
not.
can tell you so far, no one at Twitter has been like, "You terrible person, you."
Well,
Good
see,
thing you're
I
not-
think she's. I
Yeah,
think
good
given
thing
like
you're
what
not-
she's tweeted out and what she has obviously had knowledge was being tweeted out by sock accounts, which aren't definitely her, but she probably was. She figured out how to follow this brand new sock account somehow, and that like they would be tweeting out people's docs and other vital information or personal information within minutes of it being tweeted out. But still definitely isn't her sock account. She that's awful rich coming from her. We'll just leave it at that.
okay.
all I have to say about this is horse face. Let's move on.
True. Let's move on to something even better. I can't stop cheating on my husband.
What the fuck?
My salon.
That picture. What? Wow, that picture.
By Leah Clark, a role reboot. Let's see. This originally this originally appeared on Role Reboot, published here with permission. So Leah Clark, I guess, is the person. I don't know. We'll see.
All right.
I am a serial cheater. I know many people who would look at me and feel disgusted or sadness if they knew my secrets, and perhaps they should. I feel these things towards myself often. My marriage has never been perfect, on either end, but my husband believes me to be faithful for the better part of the last 8 years. I lie to him, or rather, omit the truth. No, you lied to him early when you said "till death do us part," bitch. Holy crap!
Just no. Come on, Craig. Try to read
no.
this with a straight face. It's gonna be a challenge. I know. Try to do it.
Let's go with dramatic readings here. I have cheated on him with 5 people in the past 2 years, and more before that. I seek them out. Sometimes online, sometimes I meet them casually at a bar. I have been blessed or cursed with good looks, charm, humor, narcissism, and a vulnerability that draws men to me. I know this, and I use it to get my fix. By fucking other men. I know exactly what I need to do to get a specific man in bed with me. If I'm at a bar, I even know what kind of drink I should order and pick his interest. It's a science to me, and I have my PhD. Probably has dick.
So, is she like what? A female pickup artist?
Better yet, I'm not a sex addict. I'm not looking for love. My husband gives me both regularly. No, she's just looking for other people's dicks. For me, it's a form of self-medicating a traumatic childhood. Yet it does not work, as it only leaves me feeling angry, empty, and filled with more self-loathing. So right now you're being insane, in the literal sense of the word. As in, you're trying the same shit, it's not working, fuck it, let's try it again. My upbringing was inconsistent, and horrifyingly verbally and physically abusive. In particular from my father. So, yeah, I have daddy issues. Get in line, half the planet does. Seriously, fucking huge daddy issues. I have struggled with bipolar disorder for years, clearly which isn't being medicated properly, which I believe was triggered by both genetics and childhood trauma. Well, seeing as it's heavily genetic, gene-derived, I think that the childhood trauma didn't do shit. It gave you a focus, certainly, but, blaming your bipolar on childhood trauma is just a way for you to explain your really angry feelings at your father and take it out on him again. I mean, the guy probably was a prick. I'll take this person at their word. I'll believe them, take them credulously, but still, what a way to continue that trend. My husband loves me, but somehow it's not enough, because I'm a greedy bitch. I rationalize why it's okay to cheat, often, probably right in front of him, too. He was obsessed with porn early in our marriage to an unhealthy level. He neglects me, he doesn't consult me for major decisions, he is often far away, etc. Yeah, those are all brilliant rationalizations. I'm kind of surprised he finally figured out that they're all bullshit. Some of these reasons may be legitimate. Nope, never mind. Enough to end a relationship. But I am not emotionally prepared to leave him or to turn my children's world upside down. So I simply use those reasons as validation for my cheating.
So wait,
two wrongs do make a right.
Wait, let's stop right there. So she doesn't want to leave him because she wants him to support her, but
well, she doesn't want to fuck with the kids. I think that's valid. I think being a huge bitch to take it out on him isn't. Imagine what happens when her children find out about, say, this very article.
Yep.
That's not going to help, is it?
No, her kids are going to be scarred.
His love is grounding to me, and I need it, however dysfunctional it may be at times. The fleeting touch of other men is reassurance that I am still desirable, nothing more. No, it's getting you, actually, as you'll say here, a cheap temporary ego boost, as well as, a dick inside you. It counteracts the years of verbal venom my dad spewed at me. Did he also put his dick in you? Because that'd be kind of weird. Telling 12-year-old me I was trash, a worthless whore. Yet I wonder what have I become. Promiscuous. An affair gives me things my marriage cannot. I feel a rush, the touch of new skin, of being physically desired by someone new. The intensity of urgent sex, and all the things people say and do when they are new lovers. And then, a few hours or weeks later, it's done.
This is like Sexaholic Anonymous.
Oh, no. Didn't you read earlier? She said she's not a sex addict.
No, this reads like somebody's like talking about being a sex addict at one of those like things.
It gets better.
Where those round fucking table people.
In fact, hashtag it gets better. I suddenly snap out of it. The high wears off. Not an addict, my ass. And the emptiness creeps in. It's like you need another fix or something. I cry.
That's why when I get to this point, I start going to the self-flagellation, like literally.
I mean,
self-flagellation.
I just masturbate.
I find that to be just like another layer of incredible turn on, like just whipping myself with leather as I like scream into a pillow and masturbate furiously.
See, then
it moves this to another tier, right? So like it's like an onion. You're going through the layers of.
They have layers.
Of new kinds of satisfaction.
Everyone give Grey Knight a round of applause for that wonderful share. Thank you for sharing.
I cry. I scream.
Yeah.
I feel a rush of anxiety that I can only fix by pouring myself into work.
Or masturbation.
Or apparently by having someone else pour themselves into you. I wonder why I cannot stop entirely, or just end my marriage. it's because I'm weak and so damaged. Then I feel like a coward for calling myself damaged. Like I'm not strong enough to just admit I'm a bad person. I look at my life and the things I value, those I have helped, how I love those close to me, and it doesn't feel like I'm a bad person. But then I look at the cheating, and all I see is bad. That's because it is. I've read articles.
Back to the next page where you go back to the person that you're in a steady relationship with, and then they put on like the boots and the whole outfit, and then they tell you you're a bad person, and then they do the whipping, and then you come full circle, and then you just start it again, and there you go. This person's what we're looking at here is someone who's just new to this. So like they just really need to develop some sort of a routine that brings them closer to a state of wellness at every step of the affair, and then they won't be writing these angsty bullshit emo fucking articles talking about how much of like a bitch ass noob they are.
You could see it in her eyes. They were filled up with surprise when she was going down on 17 other guys.
Kermit doesn't sound too well today, man. I think Kermit's dead.
See, I've read articles about the psychology behind a serial cheater. Somehow looking for some magic fix for my psyche. These articles tell me I have narcissistic personality disorder or borderline personality disorder.
No shit.
Or that I lack the ability to feel empathy or guilt. No. You can feel guilty all you want. You're definitely dark triad. You just don't care. They imply that I would torture small animals in the woods and walk away smiling. Nah, I don't think so. I think he'd probably fuck them and go away smiling. Never mind that I rescue any wounded critter that crosses my path. Yeah, so you can virtue signal. Oh wait, never mind. I wonder, can I ever be fixed? Oh, yeah, actually, rather, so you can turn them into PETA probably and have them euthanized. I wonder, can I ever be fixed? And do I want to be fixed? Clearly not. Sometimes I think confronting my past would break me and render me totally useless. And the cheating sustains me enough to get by with less collateral damage. I justify it this way too, I suppose. Yes, by writing about it anonymously-ish. I use protection. I give my love only to my husband. All I share with others is my body, their STDs, and everyone else you fucked. And I choose my outings in such a way that I do not even have to lie to my husband about where I am going, because he trusts me.
Mm-hmm.
That's sad. I can talk to no one about this because our society has decided that cheaters are usually just horny men or occasionally women craving the love and affection that is missing in their marriage. No, that's not why society has deemed cheating to be shitty. Society has deemed cheating to be shitty because it's a shitty thing to do to someone, to promise that you're only going to do things with them and then not. You're going like this. It's the same reason why cheating at poker is a bad thing. You promise to play by the rules and then you don't.
Yep.
See
then you wonder why everyone at the table's pissed at you.
Yeah, and just look at how adultery has been punished in the past. It's not exactly a bad thing for a woman to have done. I mean, it is, but it's not punished anywhere nearly as harshly as it is for men. Hangings and so on that happened. But that takes away from the principle there, which is you're doing something that you think is wrong, and you want other people to tell you that it's not, clearly by this screed. There is somehow less tolerance for sins of the flesh than any other kind of vice. Yeah, it's kind of how we procreate. It feels sometimes that we are more tolerant of someone who robs a bank than someone who has sex outside of a relationship. No. Guy who robs a bank's a prick. More so than this person is. Truth be told, I feel like if it were not cheating, it would have been drinking or drugs, probably at a much higher cost to my immediate family. I don't wish to defend my actions, simply to explain them. Which is something I feel so blocked from doing without an extreme level of judgment. Well, I'm sorry, but if you're going to say anything to the public, like if you just wrote this in a journal, only you are going to judge yourself on it. Or whoever gets the journal eventually. If you're saying this in public, of course you're going to get judged. That's what happens to everything in public. A lot of times people judge things as relevant and ignore them. In this case...
I mean, I think Albert Einstein said it the best. Yes, I have the quote up right now. Brilliant.
That's just what I said. Let's see. I have no crazy agenda for writing this, except for self-flagellation, or actually self-gratification. You're reveling in the fact that you can explain this, not get caught still. This is just a signal to others that A, you kind of want people to know you did it so you can get help, and B, no, you're not really sad about it. It is not to glorify affairs or to plead my case and show the world that not all cheaters are bad. If anything, it's to say this: there is no one standard profile of a cheater. Fucking duh. We are not all sex addicts, heartless men, or women looking for missing love. Look, those are tropes because they happen so often, not because they're the only things they can be. And it's pretty self-evidently fucking obvious. There's 7 billion people on the planet. I'm pretty sure you're gonna find some variation.
I
and some
think
trends.
I think Grey Knight said it best earlier. This woman is obviously very new to this whole cheating thing.
Yeah. Sometimes cheating is a side effect of a much larger, more broken picture. But stigma prevents an open dialogue.
Keep going. Keep going.
As I write this, I do not know how to fix what I've broken. Well, you can't unfuck someone, can you? Or what has been broken inside me, your vagina. And so I will pour myself into work and hope that someday I can talk about this without such a level of judgment. Cry me a fucking river.
Until then, the cycle.
You can go achieve that.
The menstrual cycle.
Yeah, you can go and achieve a discussion without any sort of judgment. Just go find a fucking counselor. Like, there are relationship counselors that you can go to, like, even just by yourself and be like, hey, I'm going through this thing. I know that this is, your background, and you have a lot of experience in how the psychology of how this works. Help me get through this.
But Gray, they might encourage her to bring her husband in.
Well, you can do that eventually if you want to. You might want to you will probably end up seeing yet another relationship counselor, because they will have the first one will have established a rapport with you one-on-one, and having discussed this, and if they're ethical, they'll probably say, well, I shouldn't say that. Like, if you're ethical, you'll say that. But, like, in my opinion, I would not take that sort of a case. Like, if I had already established a relationship with one part of the relationship, but then you can go see another one, talk about together, and have to have a brand new perspective that is also non-judgmental, and hopefully you'll get there with your partner. But I'll tell you what's not going to help. Writing articles like this. This is just fucking branding. Like, this all sounds just so, like, weird, and just like someone's trying to, they're trying out their novel skills. Like, they're getting ready to write a book. And this is just a scene that they're putting together. This is like a chapter from the book that they're trying to write in their head.
This gets better.
Oh. Here we go.
Okay.
Someone made a comment.
Okay. So, my husband acts like everything is good, even when we both know all isn't good.
This should be read in the voice of a resident of Frieza Planet 419. I'm sorry.
Okay, yes.
Max, continue.
I can see the future. My husband acts like everything is good even when we both know all isn't good. Even when I pick a fight with him, he would say nothing. He would just walk out. I can see the future. He totally neglects me.
I wasn't sitting with the women, but that's why I don't count.
I can't access anything of his, and he doesn't leave any clue for me. I can see the future. I had to use the help of a hacker to get his chats, message, email, ID, and password, even his phone book, contacts, and oh my god! What a creepy bitch!
Back notification. I discovered he actually has a 2-year-old son. Another woman!
You might want to help try to contact him. Yo, drop in the email. Holy fuck. Yo. Wow.
Tasha referred you. At least
At least he helped me move on and why am I happier?
I can see the future. I'm a creepy stalker, bitch.
This is a troll. It's a troll.
I have to be.
I know.
Let's see. You're a human.
But that made
More
that
than anything.
troll post way more interesting. You are human.
Sorry to interrupt. I was laughing in the background. This shit's hilarious. I gotta go hit up the store and get some shit done.
Hey,
All right.
Thanks for having me, Craig. That
no
was
problem, anytime.
some good coverage there. I'll probably watch this shit's funny. I'll probably catch the stream later. So
Yeah, we might do it. Just heads up, we might do another stream later tonight. Just
okay.
for shits and
Let me know
giggles.
what's going. Yeah, let me know what's going on.
All right.
All right,
Now,
catch y'all later.
Bye.
We have 2 options here, Craig. We can do the paragraph from the humanist, who tries to understand the person, or we can do the short, sweet comment by the one dude who's actually being logical here.
I like the one below.
All right, let's do the logical guy.
Get help. See a counselor today.
That was pretty much what I said.
You commented like several years. You commented several months ago, did you?
No, this is the first I'm having the pleasure of reading this very insightful article.
I honestly, I think King Fan's comment needs a round of applause.
No, but that is the approach that a rational.
Yeah.
We're not saying you're wrong, Gray. We're saying we agree with you. This guy's saying it too.
I know you are. I know you are, but I don't know why it took like the article, the resident of 419 and the humanists, and then finally like on the 4th try we get the most rational and logical conclusion.
Let's see. I like this.
Oh, we got Andrew.
You're not explaining it. You're just explaining yourself. Your explanation is not cutting it. I am bipolar, abandoned by mother, and over that I'm a male and never cheated. You're just disgusting. More so for the way you're explaining. More accurately, subconsciously justifying your cheating.
Andrew, yeah. Andrew gets a round of
Let's
applause.
see.
Woo! Logic
Now,
prevails, people.
I want to show you this because we're not going to read it, and then go right back up to King's Fan who said it in 1, 2, 3, 4, 5.
I don't know. Andrew's response pisses me off because like you want to talk about virtue signaling. It's like I'm a man and I've never cheated. Because men can't. I mean, I have a natural right to just listen to my dick. It screams so loud at me.
Well,
I'm a good man. I didn't listen to my dick.
I think he's just looking for replies like, you're so strong
I'm
and
bipolar, too. My mother left me. I got mommy issues. I need to listen to my dick when it tells me I want to fuck my mommy, and then I see my mommy in every woman.
Oh, no. See, that part's...
Wow, you're reading
what
into
the
that,
actual fuck are you even talking about, guy? Like, just...
That part completely right. The last part was where he hit home. The last part of his little thing.
I don't know. I wouldn't agree with a whole lot of any of that. Like, and even just the general idea, like, you know, good for you. You went through life without cheating. Like, can you say, like,
no,
objectivity that was always the right decision? Like, maybe you would have been better off if you cheated. Like, maybe you should live in an open relationship. I don't know the answers to fucking everything, but I'm not gonna like presume to tell other people that like.
Well,
as they muddle through life, they're necessarily doing everything wrong because they did it different than I did.
Yeah.
Fuck that.
Yeah.
Cindy B hits the nail on the head here for what I think was one of the crux issues early in the article. You don't have any idea what sex addict actually means. If it hadn't been sex, it would have been drugs and alcohol. You know, that or like describing a specific high from the act.
I think
having a desperate need for it to come again.
Why do people write these insanely long ass replies like Ray Sussman? No, like he wrote something that's like the article we just read. Jesus Christ, man.
The funny thing here is, except for that the one hilarious troll comment. I think almost every other thing here, it may be just trying to understand her a little bit or just explain her a little bit. Most of them are still saying, no, such a bitch. And this is obviously expected, but, you know, I just want to highlight one thing before we go on to 3 articles from Feministing, which I thought were funny. This is the very good content of Salon.
Wait, go back down. There was a comment I saw I liked. Damn it.
Where was I? Like here.
Fucked it up.
Blah blah blah. I think it was around here.
There we go. Yes. Cranky18. You sound like you are selfish with no regard for your husband. Marriage take works and da 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 da. You want to have the thrill of the affair with the security of a marriage. It doesn't work. Thank you, Cranky. Thank you very much. Thank you.
Alright, armchair psychiatry session over for a moment. By the way, if you take an antidepressant.
Yeah, I actually would agree with most of that, though. Like, that is why they call it cheating. I mean, you're basically cheating.
You broke a promise.
You can't have your cake. You can't have your cake and eat it too.
Yeah, I mean, and they're right. Like, marriage takes work and commitment. Like, it's not like TV. You're gonna fight. Like, the successful marriages are the ones that like steer towards the conflict and figure out a way to resolve them like reasonably and efficiently. And if you can't, then you should probably like try and marry something else.
Yep.
Okay, so again, salon.com, ladies and gentlemen. Fantastic stuff they post here. This, in addition to defending people who are pedophiles. Times. Just one more notch in that belt.
Where?
Feministing.com. I thought this was funny.
We're going down this road, huh, Craig?
Yeah, I thought this was funny though.
Hashtag, is this hentai?
I've seen enough anime to know where this is going.
We're going down this road. Alrighty.
No, I just thought, I mean, you don't have to read all of this because I thought the headline was pretty fucking funny. And the comments are good too.
What I would have said to you last night had you not come and then fallen asleep.
Right away, I'm loving this article because they're actually able to conjugate verbs correctly. Like,
yeah, really.
I wanna fuck you and come and then listen to you conjugate all night long, girl. You give me a call, or you just tweet at me. Get at me, girl. Get at me, Raina. Got good stuff.
Say it to me declaratively. All right. Alas, friend of mine, you have had an orgasm and are falling asleep. See? Fantastic already. I love this grammar. Much better.
Word.
I have not had an orgasm and am not falling asleep, which means I'm awake. Oh, they fucked it up again. Well, kind of. Which means I am now going to lecture you about feminism.
Oh!
Well, because you have to lecture people who truly are asleep, don't you?
Yeah.
In the physical sense. Who are you? Big questions. You are any man, every man. You are one of any number of lucky bastards with whom I have happened to roll into bed because, baby, it's been a few months and none of the cute activists are texting me back. Or maybe you are a cute activist who texted me back, in which case, listen up, buddy, because this one's for you too. Who are you? You're a decent guy. You're solid. I do not feel like you're going to rape me. Yay! Let's throw a party. In bed. So already she's admitting that she likes this person. She wants to have sex with them. She has given her affirmative consent. The whole fucking way through. No, you're not a bad guy. The sex wasn't particularly bad either. Snob. And I know bad sex. I know sex that tastes like coercion, and I know sex that tastes like endings, and I know sex that tastes like hand sanitizer, which is a bad thing to put on your hands before you finger someone.
That's accurate. Can confirm.
No, friend. It was not bad sex. It was normal sex. Normal, boring, vaguely dehumanizing heterosex. Oh, throw in your spin.
I was raised Catholic. I know what she means. It is all sex is vaguely dehumanizing.
It was missionary too, wasn't it? Which is precisely the point, the normalcy. Believe me, I enjoy having someone mortar and pestle me for a few minutes as much as the next ornery bisexual. See, she's greedy. But friend, I feel you can do better. I feel that we all can do better, because there was something in the choreography of the whole thing that just struck me as, I don't know, unsatisfying in a way only feminism can remedy.
Oh, God!
Hold on and wait. What did you say about feministing? I don't know.
Only feminism can remedy this.
Every time that word gets brought up in this article, I feel like I have to like say something. Just stab me.
Yep, I'm talking about the orgasm deficit. Okay, just wanted to let that sink in. Before we talk about orgasm, let's talk about sex. What is sex? Well, hasn't your parent spoken to you about this? Anybody? Like, there's education.
No, Craig. Let's not judge. Let's let the feminists tell us.
She can make her case because because we're brainwashed. I want to know what charges there are for society.
Let's let the smart feminists tell us what sex is.
Oh, do tell, yes. Here, supposedly, is what you consider sex. We make out, you play with my boobs, I blow you. You do not go down on me even though I ask. Insert some bullshit on how I only go down on women I'm in love with. Now put it in your mouth. Penis goes in vagina, penis moves in and out of vagina, penis causes air to enter a vagina and makes a lot of funny farting sounds. That's pretty funny. Someone actually farts and pretends it's a funny vagina farting sound, but it was totally a real fart. Penis ejaculates. I like the kind of Emerson-esque detail she's going into here. You roll off, you get up, take the condom off, pee, do whatever it is people with penises do in the bathroom immediately after they've come. World's great mysteries. Not really. Put your pants on, come back into bed, and fall asleep. Sex is now over. Sex is now over because you've decided it is over. I'm getting a bit of an echo.
This is why, okay, can we cut to the chase for a minute here? This is also why women are paid less, because they don't know how to fucking ask for things.
Hold on. Now remember, all of that was sex.
This is the most passive-aggressive and pathetic thing. Like, we took a left turn towards, like, really fucking lame, really fucking...
Oh, we're not done yet.
I get it.
It gets better.
Can we be done? Can we alleviate this woman's thoughts? Because, like, we get it. I get it. She didn't come. We all understand that.
She's not done yet. See, she has to continue making her case so she can get it off.
All right, let's let Craig read the last two sentences of her boring, pedantic, freaking little paragraph.
You have decided sex is over because you are a man. Not because sex is over for you, but because you're a man. And because this choreography that favors men with penises, man becomes erect, man penetrates woman, man ejaculates, is what we have been told sex is. Because we're brainwashed.
Can I just interrupt for a second? Is there actually a forum on 4chan called /P? Spelled as PEE?
Don't know.
If there is not, there should be.
Yeah, I should talk about...
Just looking at that, there should definitely be just /P.
This could be the article on it.
And the world needs that. I don't know why that hasn't occurred to anybody yet, but...
Make this a Reddit, too.
Yeah, make sure that this video gets forwarded to the correct people and appropriate action is taken. Continue.
All right, so we're brainwashed. Ever heard of a thing called patriarchy? It's a anti-name feminists. Beautiful, beautiful people have invented for systems of power or societies that favor men. No, new definition here. A system of power is a society. Forgiving the plural disagreement here.
I feel like I lose brain cells every time
Hey, bear with me now. Patriarchy is a system that works at every level. Its structure is not only overt instances of gender discrimination, but also the way we understand the world. You see, it's kind of like Max Sand. It gets into people's brains, except unlike collecting them, it just kind of erases them.
No, right. When Max Sand enters your brain, he just fills your brain up with knowledge and watches the shit show of it
affects the way we're taught to act and exist in the world. It affects our behavior. It affects our behavior at levels we can't see or understand because we take them for granted.
Brainwash.
Like breathing every few seconds. Not always through your mouth either. It's a pattern of beliefs for how we understand and interact with the world. Thus, you can say it comprises or structures our behavior. Patriarchy. A system that privileges men is like food for our brains and hearts and social experiences. We ingest it in our homes, in public space, in school, in pop culture, in relationships, and through the media. We digest it and it becomes the building blocks of our thoughts, our behaviors, our beliefs about what is right and wrong. It also structures sex. there are a number of different ways in which this structure favoring men affects sex. Do tell. One big way in which it's
This is this is so wrong. Here's the problem. It's biological. Men come a lot easier than women do. Like, this is just a fucking fact. Like, you can go to any country, any time.
It's an encouragement of promiscuity.
Like, this is the case. This is one of those things that is actually biological. And I'm saying this as somebody who's trained in psychology. So, like, I'm predisposed to see, this is my virtue signaling, I'm predisposed to see everything already as, like, social systems and, you know, constructs of mind and custom. All of that shit, like, that is the lens that I typically see the world through, and it's got nothing to do with that.
Well, I mean, they're right in a way, because the word sex is socially structured. If we didn't have society around, we'd all have a different name for it. Anyway.
Well, fair enough. I mean, the way we perform sex, like, those are informed by culture and tradition, absolutely. But, like, the fact that men come a lot easier than women, like, that is based in biology.
That's kind of like the whole thing where men are typically stronger than women. It's biology.
Like, it's super useful that men come, like, right away, because, like, that means that fertilization happens too sweet.
Also means that there's some kind of weird echo.
But that's me. I took my headset off because I was getting a headache.
Oh, fair enough.
Sorry.
Don't worry, man. I've been there the whole time.
All right. Blah, 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 blah. We talked about this a lot at Feministing, and this is super important. Keep talking about it, and talking about it, and talking about it, and talking about it.
My brain cells,
Let's
they're
see.
dying!
Something else about structuring consensual sex they also talk about a lot. And now this framework in place, we can talk about the orgasm gap. This is the part of the article I wanted to get to, because this was really fucking funny. The orgasm gap is a real thing. And it's what it sounds like. Well, why don't you just masturbate more?
Well, no, I'll agree with her that, like, if you are having sex with somebody, there is an implicit obligation that you should be coming at some point during this process of sex. Like, that's if you're into this with, you know, whomever you're doing it with, like, you're supposed to get them off.
So the orgasm
I
gap
will
is a real
certify
thing.
that as, like, an ethical, moral obligation. Like, if you're doing the fucking, you better make sure that the other person, I mean, unless something terrible happens, then you're off the hook. Like, if you can get, like, a doctor's note or something at that point, like, you're forgiven. But, you know, short of something to that degree, like, you should be making your partner get off.
So, okay, disclaimer. Orgasms are fun. Orgasms are super fun. I'm all for orgasms. I do, however, think it's important to remember that for lots of people, sexual pleasure happens beyond the orgasm. Besides the orgasm. By the way, the orgasm gap was not the point of this article, which is why it's really funny it was brought up. Focusing only on orgasms makes sex frustrating for people who orgasm infrequently or never despite the best of everyone's abilities. And focusing only on orgasm can promote a goal-orientedness, gray, that I think is part of the problem, gray. The idea that sex is a race toward a goal, and that goal being male ejaculation.
Gray.
Oh, you see how quickly we shifted ground there.
Yeah.
Yeah, but we're not talking about solely male ejaculation. Specifically,
This is why the orgasm
about,
gap.
like, in this instance, clearly female ejaculation. I was trying to be as non-gendered as I possibly could be.
Well, you know, because when it benefits everyone, it can only benefit one person if you.
Yeah, and I'm like, objectively, if you're saying that, like, the point isn't orgasms, you're fucking wrong. You're correct if you're saying people who have problems orgasming find sex frustrating. Yes.
Well, I mean,
That's
I think she has a
accurate.
point. Before we get to the part where she's wrong, she does have a point in that sentence on its own. Contextless. Yes, sex isn't about orgasms, it's about procreating, biologically speaking. Why we do it, however, is completely different, of course. We just kind of like orgasms, I think. Or we want kids. Thankfully, we have that choice nowadays between the two. Let's see, I like the hippie motivational poster approach to sex. It's about the journey, not the destination. Just wait, she's going to bitch about where the destination is in a minute.
And I'm gonna lose more
1,000
brain
nerve
cells.
endings
I'm gonna lose a lot of brain cells, man.
begins with one caress. That sort of thing. But it's important to think about the orgasm gap because orgasm, specifically the male orgasm, is more often than not assumed to be the defining aspect of male-female sex.
Alright, can we stop? I just want to pitch something to whoever watches this. I want you to go back and count the number of times this bitch said orgasm in this article. Alright,
It's
cool.
hilarious. That is, we fuck until you come. I do not come. You do not ask if I'd like to come or if you can help make me come. And then we're done fucking because you have decided we are done fucking. And everyone is supposedly happy. Well, you know, if you're not going to ask, as Grey Knight was talking about earlier, you're not going to receive necessarily, are you? By lecturing you about feminism at the end of the night, you're welcome. Thank you. I'm not only concerned with the orgasm itself. If I were so obsessed with orgasms, I could go have one. Which is why you've been bitching about them so much. More so, dear friend, I'm concerned with injustice. I'm concerned with the frustration and subtle dehumanization of a sexual system that is so overwhelmingly geared towards the pleasure of the structurally more powerful party. Men. The definition of sex itself is geared around your pleasure, all while easily disregarding mine. We can think of several explanations for the orgasm deficit, which are all boring. That's more like it. To understand what I mean by this, we need to blah blah blah.
You're gonna make me listen to more of this.
This is a person who now needs to go see a sex therapist. Like this is their problem.
Yeah. See, I'm just skimming through this thing, and it just gets to the point.
Her problem is that she has problems reaching orgasm through vaginal stimulation. Like that's the majority of women, by far. Like most get off by men going down on them. Most women most easily get off through clitoral stimulation.
Well, you see,
Fun fact.
Ray, apparently you can fuck with a girl too. With clitoral stimulation.
What? Oh, I guess. Sure. I don't know exactly what that means, but sure.
Let's see, because I don't feel like the primary distinction between a lesbian sexual experiences and my hetero ones is a matter of anatomy. Well, okay.
I think
this
There's a
thing,
small percentage of women who just don't get off.
I
See,
think
It doesn't matter what they do or what you do for them. Like it does not happen. And
I think
like those people do need to, like as she describes, find some source of pleasure in the sexual experience aside from orgasming, because that is something they will never have.
I have a solution.
And it is true that those people find sex to be frustrating until and unless that does happen. But I suspect that's not her. Or maybe it is. I don't know.
Well, you see, I have a good solution for her right now, and it's actually just as passive-aggressive as this article. And now, if you'll excuse me, I'm going to masturbate in the bathroom. Well, why don't you just do it in bed next to him?
Yeah, go ahead.
That would solve the problem, would it not? It would definitely inform him that you missed something.
Yeah, that would be that's fair grounds, I think.
I think she's still retarded.
I think it would be fair for you to be like, hey, why don't you go down on me until I come? Like that would be an appropriate response as well. Like you just do what you got to do to get me off because we're here and you kind of promised that you would.
Speaking of we're here, quick hit. After Cologne, thankfully we're not there. We can't let the topic steal feminism. This one is for the most part just reaction to the title. There's been way too much on this shit already. It's just kind of funny. We can start with this part here to get her full opinion, pretty much. In response to the unabashedly racist media frenzy, where that has followed reports of numerous sexual assaults in Cologne, all I've seen is shit from the Guardian speaking like you. Germany earlier this month, writer Laurie Penny asked what is probably the most important question: why can't we always take sexual assault as seriously as we do when migrants, Muslims, Arabs, and black men are named as perpetrators?
I have a great answer. It's because people lie.
I'm pretty sure we do. It's just not as prevalent. There you go.
Yep.
Solved that one.
Yep.
Next.
Yep.
Actually, this one ought to piss you off to high end too, Gray, because this one's right in your area of expertise. Why I don't encourage my patients to report sexual assault.
Oh, because you're a piece of shit. Got it.
Editor's note, this was originally published on the community site. It is by Lily Davino. So, you know who to go talk to about what a cretin they are.
Oh,
yeah, the licensing board of whatever state they fucking live in.
So, they're a social worker, if memory serves from reading this earlier, but we'll just get to that point, and I'm sure she says as much later on. Campus sexual assault rightly gets a lot of press. It's an important topic. A horrific amount of women are victimized while in school. Most recent study puts the number at 1 in 4. Not even, I'll bother to click on that later. But sexual violence is not confined to ivy-covered walls. You're assuming a fuck ton about colleges.
all right, thank you. You know, I have to at least give this person 1% credit. They said young women and men are victim every day. All right, good. All right, get it.
Throughout the country, in high schools, in apartments, parks and parties, and in every neighborhood in every borough of my city of New York.
Yep.
I am a social worker and rape crisis coordinator at the Mount Sinai Adolescent Health Center. So you know.
You suck at your job.
Which means that I work with teen and adolescent survivors of sexual assault. In the immediate aftermath, I'll accompany my patients to the emergency room, where they're given treatment for common STIs, HIV prophylactics, and emergency contraception as part of a forensic rape exam. So they have a rape kit ready now.
Yep.
Basically, the important thing is the evidence has been preserved.
Yes.
So, I coordinate follow-up medical care, crisis counseling, and legal advocacy for our patients, as well as longer-term counseling if they want it. I also help my patients decide whether to report their assault to the police, and more often than not, reporting is not my main objective. I can understand that not being your main objective right away, but I don't see how that's not part of the treatment as getting justice served.
Again,
especially
you
not
suck
for everyone else.
at your job.
I know this sounds counterintuitive. Well, no, that right there in its own face does not. The part well above that where you said you don't encourage them to is the part that's a problem. If I care about reducing sexual violence, don't I want to see rapists prosecuted and punished? Well, yeah, I do. But the well-being of my adolescent patients is my number one priority, and in many cases, reporting their assault to the police risks damaging their mental health.
Yeah, I disagree strongly with that observation.
Yep, me too.
And I think that there's a lot of counselors who would see that as a situation where the part of the process of getting closure on that event would be making sure that gets reported and that's even if it doesn't lead to a prosecution immediately, just the fact that like this is being reported, the evidence has been logged, and they're taking steps to make sure that this is not in the system. I agree that should not be your primary objective, and if someone said, no, I don't want to go forward, I would not, that would be the end of the conversation.
As a social worker,
if they're sitting on the fence, I would say, like, you should probably go and take care of this by moving in this direction. There's trying to help you get some perspective on this, because it will.
There's a statistic somewhere that I read a while ago that those that don't report their sexual assault to the police or at all, they have a higher risk of committing suicide than those who do report them. So
the other thing is, if you're a social worker, your goal isn't to police their mental health by providing them with advice on whether or not to report crime. If you care about their mental health, you should go ahead and refer them to a psychologist or a psychiatrist.
Yep.
It's not your job to assess mental health and/or to try to mediate how restitution is attained.
Yes.
Your job is to coordinate those things.
Yep.
Like it's literally your job to coordinate getting their mental health checked out by someone else. They can recommend stuff. You shouldn't. That's not your department. That's
like
not
just
what you're
taking a
supposed to do.
completely different situation. Like if I were just a general practice talking to people who have a shingle out on the front of my house, and they just show up and they go to the office, and we'd sit and talk for a little while, and they were like, "Yeah, my house was broken into." I'd be like, "Oh wow, what did the police say?" It's like, "Oh, I don't feel like reporting it to the police." They're like,
I call him a prick.
Why have you not done that? don't you realize that this is going to be part of what's going to give you some satisfaction on whatever level you are able to achieve closure on this? Like, to just being able to put this into a frame of reference to look back upon your life and have some measure of understanding of what happened here. Like, yeah, you should go to the police to report, like, that your house has been broken into, or, like, your car was stolen, or, like, you were mugged or beaten by, like, some terrible assailant, on the street. Like, any of those things. Like, why would you not go to the police and report that? Like, why is this one different? And I think that is a sort of coddling and like a double standard where you're just like, well, these women are so fragile, so terribly fragile, that they're not able to do what, like, everyone else would do in any other circumstance when dealing with a crime. Like, that they just can't. They can't because they can't.
And another thing to point out before we continue is that most victims of sexual assault tend to feel a lot better after it's all said and done. So.
Well, yeah, that's because there's some kind of catharsis to it.
Yep.
There's some sort of resolution to what has been a painful episode of their life. It's not stretched out into infinity.
Yes.
So it is extremely emotionally difficult to press charges in a rape case. Well, yeah, that's partly why they get so much help.
Mm-hmm.
If it wasn't that case, they'd be very silly to be expending so much resources on them.
Yep.
So many resources, rather. So the victim will have to recount the details of their assault over and over again. Not over and over again, but maybe some specific pieces of it.
Yeah. Usually they only ask you to go over the story once, and then they'll go back and
you don't have to talk to the public. You don't have to talk to anyone trying to publicize the case. You don't have to talk to a news reporter.
You just have to talk to an officer. That's it.
Yeah, I don't think you even have to show up in some cases. So she'll be questioned on the veracity of her memory. Yes, it's always the case with these kind of things. You have to say, all right, well, was this definitely like a rape that occurred? Anyway.
Yeah, that's going to happen, like, when you're reporting anything to the police.
Yeah.
Like, you're arguing against police now.
Yep.
Okay. Well, you have to, like, tell your fucking story at some point, otherwise people aren't going to know what it was. And she risks opening herself up to public criticisms of her clothing, alcohol consumption, drug use, and prior sexual behavior. At least this one got it right. Those aren't things that are held in the court.
Like, the whole problem with this is implicit to everything that this author is saying is there's this assumption that women in this situation are uniquely unable to or ill-equipped to deal with any of the situations that
Which is wrong. Which is wrong.
It's patronizing besides wrong. It's like the opposite of what her goal is. Like, if she's really looking to empower women through feminism, saying that they're, like, uniquely fragile is just, like, the most fucked up way to get there.
Yep.
And in fact, so fucked up, I think that your approach is fatally flawed, and you will never actually achieve that. Sorry.
So this can be traumatizing in and of itself, sure, but that's why you have counseling and help. If the victim was raped by her boyfriend or intimate partner, she risks isolation and even danger from reporting. No, that's why you can report anonymously, and they get their name.
This person's retarded.
Yeah, and again, this is a poor argument. I mean, like, I could understand living in some places where there aren't resources available for that, but, like, even if I were to, like, okay, so I've been in the hospital within the last few months because, like, I have asthma. I was a smoker. I've quit for a while now, but, like, the last time I was admitted to the hospital, I was having an asthma attack that just really wouldn't quit. And, like, as you're in there, like, there's lots of papers you have to sign off on. I was about to be intubated, which means that they knock you unconscious and let a machine breathe for you for, like, a day. And so there's lots of paperwork that's signed with that, not related directly to my story, but what is related to it is whenever my spouse, my partner, was out of earshot and there was, like, papers to be filed, someone would ask me, like, do you feel safe at home? Now, my wife's about, like, 5'4", I'm 6 foot. Like, I could kick her ass. Like, I'm just gonna come out and put it that way. Yeah, in a fight, like, I'd put money on me. Like, I have no reason to really be afraid. But, like, regardless, they ask this question. Like, they are prepared to deal with my answer of yes, is what I'm saying. Like, there would be people coming to me to investigate this further. There would be counselors, possibly police. I could be put up in a shelter of some sort, presumably. Like, I don't know if me being a man, I would have access to a shelter of that kind. If I were a woman, there definitely are shelters in my neighborhood and in adjacent neighborhoods that I would be provided a place to stay, so I wouldn't be at risk for of isolation or danger from reporting. Like there's an entire mechanism, a series of structures that are in place to catch people who are in this situation rather than let them fall.
So they do have a point.
They're like this person living in New York is aware of all of this. Like they're stressed in that they're underfunded in New York, as they are in pretty much every municipality. But I think New York is probably worse than most. In that, like, they probably need more resources for the number of people they're expected to service. But, like, to be sure, there are structures in place there to catch people from being at risk of isolation or danger from reporting. This is such a line of bullshit.
So I think there is a modicum of veracity to that, but only for the particular case given next, which is reporting for teens. If the assailant is a fellow student, reporting can have vicious and damaging social consequences. Now, stopping there, that's where they have a point, but that's about it. The survivor may fear physical, social, or emotional retaliation. Their fears are their problem, but that's also why we give them counseling and help.
Yep.
Sometimes the circumstances surrounding the assault involve underage drinking, right? Or staying out past curfew. Okay? Sometimes it's just like these are all things that might be.
I have the problem with this part of the article because it's just pandering to the same point that was brought up earlier. Like,
it's not illegal to be intoxicated as a minor, by the way. It's only illegal to have possession of intoxicating substances.
Yes.
Yeah, and that's even assuming, like, if you go to the or what do they call that? The Special Victims Department, and they're prosecuting they're investigating for prosecution somebody who's suspected of rape. They're not going to turn around and be like, oh, and here's a ticket for drinking. Like, they have absolutely no interest in that. Like, you will. This is an understood thing. Like, it's not just in TV shows. Like, if you're a homicide cop, like, you're not gonna freak out because somebody's smoking pot.
Yeah.
Like, you're investigating a murder. Like, you're looking for
In fact,
your approach to this is completely different. And unless someone is like forcing you to do it by smoking pot in front of you and like blowing the smoke in your face, like, you're not gonna fucking care.
Yeah. In fact,
your approach is different.
I have a good point to back this up too. Like, there'll be times when these types of police or special victims or homicide detectives will come into a shop for to get information, and maybe they'll notice that the guy who's an employee there doesn't have the papers to to actually be working there, and they'll be like, listen, we don't care about your
they're not going to ask for those papers. They're not going to look into it. They're not going to force that to happen. And even if they are aware of it, it's up to a DA to even prosecute that.
Yeah,
that's even going to happen.
They'll be like, listen. They'll be like, listen, we don't care about that. You give us the information, we'll leave you the hell alone. That's most times that's what they'll do. Just tell us what happened, like who was here, why were they here, what they do, and they'll be like, we're out of here.
Yeah.
Yeah, and all of these thoughts that are occurring to a teenager, this is why we have people like the author here, in order to make them understand that these fears about being busted for drinking or staying out past curfew, your job is to let them know that they should not be concerned with that, and their primary interest should be in reporting this crime, because one thing we understand about the crime of rape is that it's not it's not like a major swath of the population that's doing it. It's a very, very tiny subset that are repeatedly allowed to commit this crime again and again.
Yep.
The main reason why their rape numbers are as high as they are is because there are repeat offenders. That's how it works.
Yeah.
So
this is not controversial in any way. This is understood by criminologists, and it should be understood by this person because, like, I understand, and I'm old and have not even been studying presumably as recently as this person who is still in the field.
So then they say, since the victim has disobeyed her or his parents' rules, my patients might blame themselves for the victimization, which is what you're supposed to help them with. Or they might be scared of punishment if they report, which is what you're supposed to help them with. In addition, many of my patients lack a network of supportive adults who can help them through the process of healing. Yeah, especially you jackass. Much less reporting for a rape. You're supposed to be the one who connects them.
This just sounds like a whole lot of excuse pandering. Like, I'm going to, recommend to my patients that they don't do this because of reasons. Like, you're an idiot. Your job is to...
What? I'm not going to... If I'm a surgeon and I say, well, I don't recommend to my patients that I sew them up at the end because needles can hurt. Seriously. Do your fucking job. We have anesthetics for a reason. We have psychiatrists for a reason here. We have psychologists. We have social workers. Well, in theory... See if a patient... Yeah, go ahead.
This just sounds like a whole lot of excuses, like, piled and layered on top of each other to try to justify saying, yeah, I had this patient who got raped, and I told them that they should not report it because of all of these reasons that are bullshit, but I completely justify them. Like, you're an idiot. You're a fucking idiot.
If a rape patient makes the deeply personal decision, sure, it is deeply personal, to report her assault presumptions, she can't expect their rapist to be convicted. Well, it's a difficult crime to get convicted. You shouldn't expect any crime to be convicted upon accusations. Charges can be levied, indictments can be made, but you have to expect that a trial takes place.
Yep.
And that evidence is weighed, which is why it's so important to get the evidence in place. Waiting in these cases is terrible.
Yep.
They can question how long it's been since you last thought about this. They can question how long it's been since the rape kit analysis was done. If it's been a couple of days before you even got to that point, the DNA evidence could be just fucking gone. And it becomes a words game. Like, the goal here should be to get you into trial ASAP so that you can give the honest accounting of what happened. Let's see, and they say the conviction rate is 6%. So for many patients, the ordeal of reporting the rape is not worth the very small chance they will find justice. It's worth it to them that you get them there quickly because I bet you that 6% got done quickly.
It's not even the justice thing. It's closure. It's at that basic level. Like, right? It's closure. Like, there's a reason statistically, rape victims find closure when they're reporting it and it's all said and done because that part of their life is over. They've closed the door. It's so basic, and this person's so stupid.
So the most important thing is to help my patients heal. So going back to what you were just saying, so she's going to do that by choosing the least successful option for that. Sexual violence is associated with depression, anxiety, substance abuse, academic problems. Some patients suffer PTSD. True. It is my job to provide support as well as individual, group, and family therapy to help teens who have been victims of assault become healthy, confident, and whole.
Somebody needs to report this person to the board that...
I would love to see rapists prosecuted for their crimes.
For real.
But what's more important to me is supporting the teen survivors. When reporting will only increase the stress, isolation, and trauma of my patients instead of focusing on punishment of the perpetrator, I work on healing the victim. Lily Davino, LCSW MPH, is a licensed clinical social worker at the Rape Crisis and the Rape Crisis Coordinator at the Center. She specializes in sexual violence, domestic violence, teen relationship abuse, adolescent health, and mental health, Asian Pacific Islander health, and mental health and cultural competency.
Yeah, that license needs to be revoked. Overstepping your bounds is.
Now she said she doesn't encourage them to report. I think that she should be if she's not discouraging reporting. I think there's a bit of a gray area in her choice not to recommend reporting. I think it's a really thin sliver on a circumstantial basis, but I think it's also bullshit.
I guess it depends. I guess it depends on like the way she goes about it. Like if she's like really adamant about drilling it into her patients like a couple times that no, you really shouldn't report this because of all the reasons that were listed in the article, then at that point that's like over the gray area. Like you're way overstepping your bounds. And
also supposing that I had just to play devil's advocate on opinions of my own I've held past here.
Yeah.
Just suppose like this is what causes things like the whole situation with Bill Cosby.
Yeah.
If you don't report it, especially within the statute of limitations, or within the time frame where evidence can be collected, etc. If you don't go seek help,
maybe the problem is that I am old, and that the people that I talk to are still in the field are old, and we have a different approach to this than like these kids that are coming.
I was going to say that, man.
Like maybe because we really like my perspective on this is that like there is this ideal state of wellness, and like we're all trying to get there, and I think that there might just be like just a different approach to that. That these people are just looking at it as we don't need to try and address these problems at the source. That we can just kind of like put a bandage on it, and treating the symptoms is a way of raising wellness in that sense. Just like as long as you feel good about it, like that is good. I don't agree with that approach. I think that you can make an argument that that's valid, and like this is just a difference in like how we look, our perspectives on life. But
if we're going to go down that route, I'd say there are more than one state of wellness, and not all states of wellness are equal to each other. Maybe sometimes we have to go through a valley to get to a higher peak.
Yep.
There could be saddle points.
Yeah, I mean, there's hard work to be done in order to try and achieve certain things in life. In fact, anything that I would say, pretty much everything that's worth achieving usually takes at least a moderate effort.
It's not even. It's not even limited to psychology as a field either. Like I think that's with a lot of fields. Like my uncle is a mechanic, and mechanics back in the day did things very differently than mechanics do now. And I would bet that my uncle is a better mechanic than half the guys who have to do the job now, just because things are done differently in the old days than they are now. Like I don't know.
I mean, the appeal to nostalgia aside, there sometimes there's situations where if it ain't broke, don't fix it.
Yes. I'm just saying that
it's not a waste of effort there.
It's not even an appeal to nostalgia so much as it is like.
That's why I said it aside.
The way people are taught yields, like psychology or in any field is different from when they were. Taught back then, like Grey Knight when he was getting his.
I mean, my feeling on it, to just kind of dovetail into what Craig said, is a psychologist's duty is also to point out things that might be broke that the person isn't even aware of. And like I've had counselors who have done exactly that for me, and it's important to have people who can do that for you. That that you can go to them and get that advice, because you might not see that these things are broken. So yeah, I don't know. Like I think that I just disagree with what this person is saying. I respect their accreditation, and the board's right to license them because they feel that they're doing the right work. But I think that I have a strong ethical concern about like
I disagree with them
approach.
Too, man.
Well, who the fuck am I, and what do I know? Anyway, I've actually got to get going because it's getting
late. I think we're about done with this.
I got to go take care of some stuff because we might actually be getting a storm tonight, and I want to get there before the traffic.
Oh yeah, the storm. Shit.
Allegedly, it might be happening tonight.
I've been getting snow all day long.
I know you're getting the brunt of it further down the coast. Up here, I think we're barely going to get anything. If
well, that's because
just south of the lake effect region too. So I think you're going to be okay.
If you didn't notice, Gray, it was a bit warmer than yesterday. Yeah.
Yeah, we're supposed to get somewhere between like 8 and 30 inches. One said as much as 40. Ridiculous. I think that's not going to happen.
The original prediction for my and Ray's area was like 4 inches, something like that. But a warm front had hit, and they don't know how bad
Yeah.
it's going to be because of the warm front.
Yeah.
They don't know.
Anyway, I'll go ahead and I'm going to go ahead and end this right now. So thank you, Grey Knight and Max Sand, and of course Beach for coming on and trudging through all this.
Today's stream was brought to you by I for Idiotic.